uk/your say. We'll get to some of those later in the programme.
Yes, we'd love to speak to you as well if you are close by. But let's get to the headlines with Katie Bowen.
Tom, Emily, thank you and good afternoon. The headlines at 12:03. As you've been hearing, a major incident has been declared in Suffolk after a wildfire broke out at Dunwich Heath. Around 90 firefighters are tackling the blaze and helping to evacuate families from their homes. 200 caravans at a nearby holiday park have also been evacuated. Firefighters are warning that they are working in difficult conditions. The local council is currently also warning that the fire is not under control. An area of 24.7 acres is still ablaze. Suffolk Fire and Rescue Service say there is currently no risk to Sizewell B nuclear power station from the wildfire. It's all as the Environment Agency announced that half of England, including Suffolk, is officially in drought. No injuries have as yet been reported. Much more on this breaking story as we get it. Elsewhere, more breaking news. 4 migrants have died and more than half a dozen others have been injured in separate incidents in the English Channel overnight. 3 women were pulled unconscious from one migrant boat that left a beach near Dunkirk at 3 o'clock this morning. Another migrant, a man believed to be in his 30s, died when a so-called taxi boat got into difficulties near a beach south of Boulogne around midnight. The 3 female migrants were on board an overcrowded dinghy with more than 70 others when French rescue services were alerted to the ongoing emergency. That vessel is now just about to enter British waters with 2 Border Force vessels waiting to pick up the occupants who will be taken to Dover Harbour. In other news, Andy Burnham is expected to unveil £8.4 billion of investment for Britain's new nuclear submarines. The Dreadnought class will replace the current Vanguard fleet and will be capable of launching Trident ballistic missiles. The Prime Minister says the project is about keeping Britain safe while backing British workers, firms and skills. But he's still facing questions over how he will fund wider defence promises, including commitments on NATO spending. And Donald Trump says Andy Burnham told him he was going to open up North Sea oil. The claim would mark a major shift from Labour's 2024 manifesto, which promised not to issue new North Sea licences. But Number 10 has not confirmed any change in policy on future drilling. Speaking at the White House, the US President said Britain would become a wealthy country if the Prime Minister followed through.
He said he's going to open up North Sea oil. If he does that, you're going to be a wealthy country. If he does it reasonably. I was telling Prime Minister Starmer, open up the North Sea. Open it up. You'll be okay. Open it up. You have one of the most valuable oil finds anywhere in the world. And if the United Kingdom would use it, they'd be a wealthy country again. And I tell you what, I could not get Starmer to use it. It was incredible.
Those are your latest GB News headlines. Let's take a quick look at the markets.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
The pound will buy you $1.34 and €1.17. The price of gold is £3,044 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 10,929 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
12:06 is the time. Welcome to Good Afternoon Britain. Now, yes, a major incident in Suffolk after a major wildfire has broken out in Dunwich Heath.
Well, firefighters are tackling the blaze and helping evacuate families. It's being reported that Sizewell B, a nuclear power station, has been put on high alert as it's located just 3 miles south of the fire. OK, well, weather journalist Nathan Rao joins us now. Nathan, of course, the ground is very, very dry. We've got a drought covering most of England now, or at least half of England. Is that why this has occurred?
Yes and no, Emily. These sorts of fires are never really very, very rarely caused by the weather. Lightning strikes really are the only thing that causes wildfires, that triggers wildfires. The ground has been dried out by this heat wave we've been seeing for the last few weeks and the drought that was announced yesterday. And you only need to look at the papers today to see that half of the country is parched and fire ready. And what it I would suspect has happened here is that something has triggered probably most likely human activity. Hence all the warnings out during these periods of weather of don't light barbecues, don't discard cigarette ends, don't discard bottles. Whatever, nevertheless, we are in this situation now and this fire is spreading. It was downscaled slightly earlier this morning. Now it's been upscaled again to 90 firefighters. The winds are coming from the northwest, so it's travelling east out towards the coast. And that is good news for the Sizewell B power plant. The authorities have said there's no immediate risk, but the winds could change or the fire could creep out. So overall, there's no underestimation to say that this is an emergency and it's going to keep spreading until it's dealt with.
This is, of course, a huge concern for people in the area. We haven't really had too much experience with wildfires, at least in this part of England in recent years. It seems like something that the continent is more used to. We're more used to reporting on these sorts of things in Greece, in Spain, sometimes in south of France. This is perhaps something that is more unusual here.
Yeah, it is unusual, Tom. It's not that we never get wildfires in the UK. We do get them. We get them, most years we get wildfires in parts of the country and they're dealt with very quickly. The problem is we're now in a drought situation and we've had almost 4 months, 3 months since May of unusually hot temperatures in the 30s right through the last 3.5 months. Temperatures up in the 30s non-stop and dry weather, no rain across the south of the country. The north and the northwest have had rain, but it's an absolute tinderbox down there. And there's no rain, really any significant rain in the forecast. And that is what is exacerbating the situation. It's making the situation, the environment perfect for the sort of wildfires that, yes, you're right, Tom, we're not used to in this country because we don't, we're in the UK, we see rain all the time. It's something that we complain about. We haven't seen rain for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And if you put that sort of weather together with a spark, you're going to get this.
Well, yeah, and you're saying that it could be something as simple as a broken bottle. What the sun sort of reflecting could just set off this and then a chain of events, and then you've got huge amounts of land just up in flames.
Yes, and I think I've read it's 14 football pitches in area, and that would have started, Emily, you're right, from a spark, from a one single catalyst, which is why it's so important. When you do see warnings for no barbecues, don't discard cigarette ends, it's really important because these things cause so much damage. Look at what's happening in Europe. The amount of damage, the cost of damage, not only to human beings, but to the environment and to the animals and to the whole, the infrastructure, everything. Even when the fire is out, when it rains, there's debris from the fire that will run into the waterways. And that's another problem. So one careless moment can cause absolute destruction.
Yeah, Nathan, I know in the Lake District and the Peak District, this is a huge issue. People just bringing along their own barbecues and setting up and cooking their meat and whatnot, and then just leaving the debris there. And in such dry conditions, it can be deadly.
Yeah, and as I've said, look in the papers this morning, the whole country is like a tinderbox. There is going to be some rain up there in the north where you mentioned, Emily, so that's good news. But yes, they don't make these warnings for nothing. And I've seen people lighting barbecues, and I've also seen a lot of comments from people going, this is all nonsense, we've had this before, and all that sort. It really isn't. Just go and talk to the people in Suffolk at the moment and ask them whether they think it's nonsense to warn, not just to be really careful. It doesn't mean that everyone has to go around not enjoying themselves when we get warm weather, but do we really want to see pictures like this? Because people being careless, no. And I would say really be very, very careful until this drought is over.
And how long might that be, Nathan? I mean, it seems like we've had 4 heat waves now this summer. This drought now declared across England, of course, across the majority of England. How long is it going to last?
Well, the drought in the south of the country is going to carry on because there is no significant rain in the forecast. As I mentioned, the northwest Scotland, the northwest of the UK, that is getting a bit of a cold front is coming on, and that cold front bumping into the warm air is going to bring some rain. But elsewhere across the south of the country, apart from on Monday, when there's a sign of a little bit of a rainy system coming in from the south, but it's not going to be a lot, and that could veer off in a different direction. The answer to your question is, for the foreseeable future and into the start of August, the last month of summer, there's nothing in the forecast that suggests we're going to get significant rainfall. And when we do get rain, it's not going to take the odd shower to repair this situation. We need now weeks and weeks of long, sustained, unpleasant, the rain we don't like to replenish our water tables and soak the ground again. So no, there's no end in sight really for this drought.
I don't know if you can speak to this, Nathan, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you suppose the Sizewell B power plant that's, 3-4 miles away from the fire, will be doing anything in terms of taking precautions? I mean, they say they're on high alert, but no sort of imminent danger. But what could they do to protect themselves?
As I mentioned, the fire services says there's no immediate risk. I imagine that somewhere like Size B will have processes in place to deal with situations like this. I'm not going to lie and say I know what those are. I don't. Thankfully, as I said, the winds are taking the fire in the other direction from the power station, so that's good news if the winds were to change. And it doesn't look like it is, because this is a high pressure system bringing those winds in from that direction. But if it does and pushes it towards it, I would be absolutely sure that the authorities would know how to deal with this sort of situation. What the authorities will do in terms of the fire is they will cut fire breaks, they will burn fire barriers, they'll burn a strip of land in front of the fire, so when the fire reaches it, it can't pass it. They'll be cleaning away debris, they'll be doing all sorts of things to stop this fire from spreading, passing over with water and fire retardant. But that's all you can do. And as we've seen in Europe, it's very, very difficult, they're impossible to stop these things spreading until we get rain, which will quench them. Until then, no, we've got to just sit and watch this one out.
Nathan, do you think disposable barbecues should be banned while there's a drought on? Do you think you should be able to still buy them?
Yes, I'm not a huge fan, Emily, of banning anything. I'm more of a fan of, if you have a disposable barbecue and you take it home to your patio and you use it sensibly and you don't discard it and you follow them, then no, of course we shouldn't. That would stray into the people that accuse, they want to ban everything and ruin everyone's fun. I do think that people should adhere to the instructions that are not placed all through the year, very rarely when there's a drought, to say, when we've got conditions like this, don't use barbecues in built up in parks and wooded areas and places where there could be a real risk. If you want to use a barbecue, go home and use it safely. It's a bit like fireworks in the bonfire night. Do I want to ban fireworks? No, of course not. But do I want to see them in woodlands? I think no. We need to be sensible. I'm going to be honest, Emily. I think we're losing the ability to be sensible and take care of our own environment. And I think we'll find out that this has been a product of just that.
Now, Nathan, I'm looking at a map of sort of the area of this Dunwich Heath wildfire, and it does look that between Dunwich Heath and the Sizewell power stations, there is a significant amount of wetland. Now, am I being naive into think that could be a natural barrier for this fire, that it's unlikely to be able to make its way across a wetland, or could it be so dry in this sort of temperature that it can sort of jump from bracken to bracken and across?
Common sense would tell me that you're right, Tom. Now, I can't give you the exact science of whether a fire can jump across a wetland or not. I don't know it. I would suggest, with what I do know, is that it would act as a sort of a fire break. But you're right, the flames can jump and burning embers can travel and they can carry it over the fire break, over the wetlands into other places. Again, this is another reason why these things spread far and wide very quickly. It's not just a slow creeping fire. The embers lift into the air, they can spread, they can ignite and spark other fires, and then they can spread. So while a wetland, as I said, common sense tells me, yes, that's good news for a wetland to be between a fire and something else. It's not an occasion to rest on our laurels and say there's nothing to worry about. The authorities are going to have to get this under control, and a very difficult task that is going to be.
Apparently we have, I didn't really know much about this, on-call firefighters who may have other jobs at the same time, who sort of, when there's a disaster like this or some danger that's going on, they'll put on their uniform and go out and help for often not very much money.
Probably not, no. I mean, and there they are, doing the job and keeping us all safe. As I said, 70 this morning, 90 later on when they upscaled it. I'm not sure how many hoses that is, but it'll be a lot, and it'll be costing a lot of money, absolutely no doubt, as these things do. And that just harks back to what I said, a single careless moment can cause a lot of damage. It takes the firefighters and the emergency services away from where they would be otherwise, putting their efforts into. A huge amount of emergency services are being called to deal with this all through today, I would say, undoubtedly all through today. And if there are any, and all the infrastructure and emergency service that's needed to put into getting people safe is all going to be ploughed into this. So a huge effort to deal with this emergency situation.
All right, well, Nathan, thank you very much indeed, a weather journalist. We're going to speak to Miriam Cates, who's in the studio, because Miriam, you know this area pretty well, don't you?
I do. I've lived in Suffolk for a couple of years.
Well, tell us about it. I know you've been down to Sizewell as well, to the plant.
Well, Suffolk is a large county. It's not particularly densely populated at all. There's no city in Suffolk. Ipswich is a large town, and the area we're talking about is actually quite remote. It is on almost the furthest eastern point of the country, and it is full of heather and grass. And East Anglia is the driest region in the whole of the UK. I think Norfolk, slightly to the north, gets more sun than anywhere else. And so, of course, the land is very, very dry. I used to live in Sheffield. I grew up in the north, in the Peak District, which is very wet. And when I moved south, one of the first things I noticed is that all the grass is yellow for the entirety of the summer. We have very, very little rain in Suffolk. So it's unsurprising that there is this huge amount of fuel, sadly, that is ready to be burned up in a wildfire. And it's a particular area of outstanding natural beauty, actually, where these fires are. It's managed by the National Trust, as you know. And one of the things about the National Trust is they insist on managing land very conservatively. So we know that lots of heather and heathland in the UK is managed by farmers and landowners using controlled burning to reduce the amount of fuel so that at this time of year the risks of wildfires are lower. Well, the National Trust do not do that. They do not use controlled burning. They do use other methods, so cutting and things like that. But of course, it does mean that there is potentially a higher risk of wildfires because there is just more mass of heather and biomass there ready to burn up.
Is the reason they don't do this controlled burning for sort of conservation reasons, pro-nature reasons, which might sound all lovely when they decide not to do these controlled burns, but actually, if it risks the sort of scenes that we're now seeing on our screens here, just this enormous destruction, that doesn't sound like it's particularly pro-nature.
Well, certainly in the Peak District, an area I'm still much more familiar with, you can compare the land that is still managed by private landowners and where they do use controlled burning, although it's much harder to do that. Since 2021, you've had to apply for a special licence from Natural England. They're not easy to come by. And then right next door, butting up to land owned by the National Trust, where they don't do that, they follow this new idea of re-wetting, trying to let the peat re-wet itself naturally and using that as a fire retardant. And I'm afraid the differences start not just in the prevalence of fires, but also actually in the kind of different species that don't then grow in those conditions. So, of course, the whole of Suffolk is extremely dry. It is absolutely prone, sadly, at the moment to these fires. We don't know exactly what caused it, but certainly I think as a country as a whole, we do need to be asking questions about land management. The old ways do seem to be the best ways.
And what's actually around here then? Are there residential properties that could be affected? Have people had to be evacuated from those properties? Is it mostly just land mass, sort of forest, countryside land?
So it is pretty rural, it's pretty sparsely populated. There is Dunwich, there's a town of Leiston, which is to the south and further south of Sizewell B power station. Of course, that is a concern, only 4 miles away. Sizewell B has succeeded Sizewell A, a power plant that's no longer in operation, but they are now under construction Sizewell C. So the whole area around the power plant is actually covered in builders' fences and temporary structures, huge amounts of construction vehicles. As you said, I've been to Sizewell C to speak to some of the residents who are very, very upset about the damage that Sizewell C has done to the land. But essentially, it is all farmland around there with some small numbers of houses. But it's also a very popular holiday location. And just a little bit further down the coast, we've got places like Lowestoft and Aldborough and Southwold, further up the coast, Southwold, which are very actually high-end holiday locations. We know people like Ed Sheeran live near there. So there will be plenty of holiday makers around there this time of year. It is a beautiful area, lovely, lovely beaches, great weather. And so it's understandable that the authorities have evacuated the Dunwich caravan park because, of course, when fires get close to densely populated areas like holiday parks, it's, of course, very, very dangerous. But, you know, as your previous guest was saying, most of these fires are caused by human activity, deliberate or not. And so, of course, precautions should be made. But I think we also have to face facts that sometimes people do these things deliberately. I mean, just think back to 2023, the vandals who cut down the Sycamore Gap tree. I mean, what an assault on our natural environment. Some people, it seems crazy to believe this, but some people actually, I think, go out to cause harm. Of course, we don't know anything in this case, but it's very, very difficult to prevent these kind of incidents when it is so dry.
I wonder if we're going to have to start manufacturing rain. You can do that, can't you?
You can
do that in Dubai, don't they?
Well, it's called
Abu Dhabi.
seeding, isn't it? It's called
Feeding the rain, with chemicals in the air.
I mean, it hasn't rained for so long in some of these areas.
All of the grass in Suffolk is just yellow and brown.
Yeah, maybe we need to start getting those clouds going.
Well, that, or we just manage our land a little bit better with some controlled burns every now and again. But
well, perhaps,
goodness
me. I was also in the area of France that is now burning 10 days ago. I don't seem to have much
you around.
But
Miriam, are you starting these fires?
Are you smoking in the undergrowth?
A common theme here. But obviously, the French landscape, they're very, very different. Miles and miles and miles of very, very tall pine trees. But again, the undergrowth underfoot, the pine needles, the pine cones, extremely dry. Again, just so much fuel around at this time of year.
Yes, hitting temperatures like 38 degrees, right? Up to 40 degrees at the moment. Miriam Case, thank you very much indeed. Of course, presenter and Suffolk local resident. Even if only for 2 years, you know a lot about the area. Good stuff.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
We're going to bring you more on the Suffolk wildfire, making sure that people are evacuated, and we'll give you an update on how the flames are escalating. It's been declared a major incident. Stay with us.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight. On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
the People's Channel?
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Harwood. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 26 minutes past midday. Now, of course, a major incident has now been declared in Suffolk after a major wildfire broke out on Dunwich Heath.
Yes, firefighters are tackling the blaze and trying to help families evacuate the area. It's being reported that Sizewell B, a nuclear power station, has been put on high alert because it's located just 3-4 miles south of the fire.
Well, now a few of you have been getting in touch. Nicholas and Diane have said, "Hi there, the fire is next to RSPB Minsmere, a very important nature reserve."
Well, yeah, that's concerning. I mean, the damage to the local wildlife. Tony says, "I purchased a vehicle a few years back and the manual had a warning about parking in such areas as on long grass."
We still don't know what might have sparked this fire.
So it could be something from a vehicle. No, potentially. And Andy says, back in the day, firemen and farmers used to do swaling to control fires, so this didn't happen.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it could be...
There'll be a lot of discussion now, I think, about what land management could have been done to try and prevent this.
I mean, it could have been, a bunch of idiots just smoking, and not putting out their cigarettes.
Or having a barbecue.
Or dropping a bottle and then it gets smashed and, what happens with the light when it reflects?
Yeah. Well, of course, if you've been affected, please do get in touch with us. You can use the email address, gbviews@gbnews.com. I think, is it .com?
.uk?
I think it might be .uk, but let's double check that. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Well, there you go. Joining us now is a local organic farmer and conservationist in Suffolk, William Kendall. William, thank you very much. So how far are you from the wildfire then?
I'm about 5 miles from Dunwich, so I'm not in the thick of it. I drove around the edge of it last night without realising it was happening, and it was pretty eerie seeing the smoke. I mean, it was a glorious evening, but the smoke had sort of dulled out the sun. But it's obviously got a lot worse.
This is a hugely concerning set of pictures that we're seeing on our screens right now, William. I mean, the scale of this is hard to tell, but the smoke plumes just look enormous. I've been seeing that these have been billowing out to sea as well. Do we have a sense of the scale of this fire?
Well, I mean, you can see more than I can see. I mean, I'm looking at the same pictures as you now. So, I mean, this is one of the most pristine areas of Britain. And it's a wild coast. It's full of wildlife. I mean, it's already being invaded by energy schemes, and so people are feeling sort of under pressure. And then, but this is one of the last sort of areas that hasn't been desecrated by trying to build nuclear power stations or whatever. And so it's any damage is tragic, but it is just one of the most beautiful parts of Britain, and so it's painful to watch it happening. But as you've just been saying, it's kind of inevitable. I mean, who knows what's caused it, but it's wildland. It's not, you were talking about land management. I mean, there's limited amount. The whole point is it's a lot of it's wild, and it's allowing wildlife biodiversity to develop there. And so it's not heavily managed. That's the whole point of it.
I mean, do you see, William, do you ever notice people doing silly things like barbecuing or, dropping litter or cigarette butts? And is that something you've noticed?
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, not specifically there. This part of Suffolk's hugely respected by most people for its wildlife and for its wild. So I think there's a lot of respect normally. And so who caused this? But, people taking barbecue out at this time of year, it's perfectly possible. And it's really stupid. And, it puts people's lives and puts wildlife's lives at risk. I mean, there are, birds and things that have got wings can get away from this, but there's a whole load of very threatened species, adders that live in this heathland, and they can't get out of it. So it's potentially tragic. Yeah,
what are the species that are in this particular area? Are there ones that are only local to Suffolk?
Well, I mean, so adders are a good example. I mean, some people may not like the sound of snakes, but they're very threatened, and it's one of the areas that's known for them. I mean, it's best known for bird life here. It's it's one of the flyways of the world, and so and we're happily post most of the nesting season now. So hopefully the birds can move away. But it's the invertebrates. It's the sort of whole ecosystem that's damaged by this, and it takes ages to recover.
Now, of course, Britain has experienced wildfires before. We've seen a lot on the continent this summer as well. But specifically here in this part of Suffolk, I mean, has there been anything like this in your memory?
I don't remember it, but I mean, there are other ones I gather at the moment in the Brecklands, which is further inland. And so these heathland areas, which are dry even at the best of times, are particularly susceptible. What we normally get around here, this is a big farming area. I mean, not specifically where we're looking at the moment, but it's a big farming area, and so you tend to get stubble fires. You get sort of cornfield fires, combines catching fire, and there's been quite a lot of that, and the fire brigades have been working overtime to try and control that. But that's more common. But no, I don't remember. I mean, they'll have happened in the past, but I can't comment really.
I mean, as a local farmer and a conservationist, it must just be, really quite hard to watch. You clearly care passionately about this area of the country and the, the wildlife and the land itself and everything else.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. And as I say, this is a sort of untouched part of Britain. It's, it's relatively in the south, but it's an area where the population's quite low. At this time of year, it rises. And we're already sort of under siege because of all these, new, some of them important renewable farms. So the local population here is sort of feeling, almost like in a wartime environment where they're just under siege from everything. And then, so this is just another blow. But obviously, it's a much bigger blow to wildlife. And we haven't got much of it left in the UK. So I'm feeling particularly sad about it. I mean, I don't know enough about it at the moment, and I've tried to ring colleagues who are involved in wildlife conservation to find out what's going on, but nobody seems to know at the moment. But we all know what fire does. It's not good.
Yeah, and it does seem that this fire has been going for some time now. There are road closures in the area. There are people that have been told to stay away. A local pub has shut its doors. It does seem like it might be some time before this is got under control.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you can talk to people who will know better than I do. I mean, we've got a brilliant fire brigade here, but it's much bigger. It's not a local fire. It's not something that's going to be put out of control in a few hours. So I've no idea. But it's bad, and it's a bad time of year. It's a bad time of year for tourism, for pubs that have managed to keep going in spite of the economic environment, and so it's just not good for anything. I've read about holidaymakers evacuating their caravans, and nothing positive.
Well, no, absolutely not. I do hope the damage that is inevitably done is mostly reversible. But William Kendall, really appreciate your time. Good luck with everything. You're a local organic farmer and conservationist in the area. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you. Well, lots more still to come on today's programme, of course. More on that Suffolk wildfire, which has been declared a major incident. We're getting more information all the time. Do stay with us.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. Now, there is actually a bit of rain around for some of us, even in the south today, but also some sunshine. And worth bearing in mind, with a cold front pushing its way through, we are seeing things turning a bit fresher than it was yesterday, but nonetheless in the southeast it is still quite hot. As I mentioned, there's some rain, outbreaks of rain across particularly the northern half of Scotland, and then a few spots of rain elsewhere. Quite a bit of cloud across central, southern, southwestern parts of England into Wales, and a few outbreaks of rain pushing their way eastwards. But there will also be some sunshine. Like I mentioned though, it is a bit fresher for many of us. Temperatures in the southeast down around 5 degrees compared to yesterday, but nonetheless could still get to high 20s, perhaps even low 30s in some places. Also need to watch out for the potential for some further showers into this evening. Could turn thundery across parts of East Anglia in particular, but they're going to be very isolated, not a huge amount of them. A few more showers across parts of Northern Ireland, central and northern parts of Scotland. Some of them could be a bit heavy, but the rain's not going to be as persistent as it has been earlier on this week here. As we go overnight, we're sticking with a few showery bursts of rain here and there, mainly across parts of Scotland, but a few further south can't be ruled out. There's the potential that some rain around the North Sea could push into parts of East Anglia through the night, but I'm not particularly confident about that. Likely it will stay just to the east, with much of England and Wales staying dry overnight. It is going to be a little bit fresher, a bit chillier perhaps than some recent nights, more widely seeing temperatures into single figures perhaps, so not as warm as it has been recently. More showery rain across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England and perhaps Wales through tomorrow. There will be some drier, perhaps sunnier weather here, but it's across central southern parts of the UK where it's going to be largely dry and sunny. Here, temperatures will be down compared to today, but only by a couple of degrees.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A361 is closed after the A396. The A417 is closed after the A429. The A1M between junctions 3 and 4 is closed. The A11 is closed after the A134 in Thetford. The A428 is closed after the A1 near St Neots. North of the border, the A720 westbound has lane restrictions causing congestion between the A7 Sheriff Hall roundabout and the A68 Miller Hill junction. And on the trains, ScotRail is experiencing major disruption between Glasgow Queen Street and Edinburgh via Airdrie. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 38 minutes past midday, and firemen are battling a large wildfire in Suffolk, just a few miles from Britain's biggest nuclear power station.
Yes, it's a major incident. It's been declared after 90 firefighters were deployed to tackle the blaze at a place called Dunwich Heath.
Well, joining us now is GB News presenter and Suffolk local resident Miriam Cates. Miriam, you moved to the general area a couple of years ago. And I mean, we've been speaking to people all afternoon now. No one can remember something of this scale in this area before.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen 90 firefighters, as you said, come to try and put out the flames from as far away as Felixstowe, which is about at least an hour's drive away from Dunwich, possibly more. It's a big county. It's not very populated. It's extremely spread out. So we are talking about pretty much all of the different fire services in Suffolk collaborating to fight this fire. And of course, as we've seen with the wildfires in France, they are so dependent on the wind direction, the change of wind speed. Of course, this is near the coast. We understand that the wind is now pushing the fire towards the coast, which is good news in terms of the longevity of the fire. But obviously, there are other concerns in terms of residents, in terms of property, in terms of the power station nearby. And it is a beautiful area. This lowland heath, which is in the Dunwich area, that type of landscape has reduced by 90% in the last 120 years. It is home to some incredible species of plants and birds and even snakes, actually. So it is a concern that this fire, if it gets out of control, the kind of loss to the environment. And the local population feeling pretty much embattled. I mean, Suffolk is an area that's pretty forgotten about. It doesn't have a city, it doesn't have a university. Well, there is a Suffolk College in Ipswich. It doesn't have a lot of employment opportunities. And yet, in recent years, they've had to battle the building of Sizewell C power plant, which a lot of local residents are hugely opposed to because it has decimated the landscape in that area already. I've been there, I've seen it. Acres and acres of farmlands just destroyed behind builders' fences. No real date yet as to when it's going to be built. There's also been a controversy of the cables from the marine wind turbines that are coming into land there. That's been a huge controversy in the local area. Again, a real eyesore when it comes in to land. And now, of course, we've got these fires. So the local residents have put up with a lot, actually, in recent years. And they'll be now looking at some of the area that was unspoilt, now being spoilt by these fires.
Yeah, we're speaking to a local farmer and conservationist. He feels like he's been, it's just another thing.
Yeah.
And people live in this area because it feels so relatively untouched, right? Miriam, thank you.
Well, let's speak now to the former CEO of Energy UK, Angela Knight, because, Angela, people will be worried about Sizewell B, about Sizewell C, which is currently under construction, the nuclear power stations in the area. People will think back to Fukushima, people will think to 3 Mile Island, perhaps even Chernobyl. What are the risks here?
Well, the risks are not that high, actually, I'm able to say, for more reasons than one. I mean, firstly, of course, this in no way diminishes the fire and the points that have been made, which are indeed very good points and concerns over the area. I have a friend who lives very close by to that area and to that power station. The fire at the moment is to the north, of course, of Sizewell, and the wind is east-west. So I'm not surprised when the fire rescue service says that the plant is not in any danger. But the second point is this, and we have always built our nuclear plants here in the UK with a huge attention being paid to safety and security. So that is safety and security in all sorts of ways, of which fire protection is one. And then the third point is that it is also on the sea. So if ever you are going to be able to really be able to protect a plant such as this, it's have it where there's a copious quantity of water, which of course is the sea. Secondly, have your fire protections built in the first place, which has happened here. And as I say, the fire is to the north, the wind is east-west, so I don't think it's under danger.
The problem with wildfires, though, well, one of the problems is that the wind direction can change, can't it? I mean, we see it often in Europe. But even if the wind were to change, you're saying that the plant will have various protections.
It's well protected. Yes, it's well protected. Right now, I'd be far more worried about some of the villages and farmhouses that are in the way, because you make a very good point, and that is these sorts of fires are dangerous. The ground is extremely dry. How it started, I don't know, but I do know that people could get concerned about those who go into the countryside and don't recognise the care that they have to take. They leave rubbish behind or whatever. I don't know whether that's the case in this instance, but in this sort of weather, once the fires grip very quickly indeed. That's why so many firefighters get sent, and we've always got the ability to call out the army if we need. And I don't think that should, again, be viewed as something scary. I just think that it should be viewed from the perspective that these sorts of fires need to be controlled as quickly as they possibly can. And as has already been said, it's a lovely area. There's lots of very pretty villages and small towns and farmhouses, and the natural environment is lovely. So the sooner they can get this under control, the better for all those residents who are there.
Well, good news to hear about just how safe these nuclear power plants are. I was looking at the recent disasters. I mean, Fukushima is the one in most recent memory.
Yes, of course.
Not one person died from acute radiation sickness in that, despite it being smacked by a tsunami and an earthquake.
Wow.
There was not one acute radiation. There were deaths because of the earthquake, but not due to acute radiation sickness, which is remarkable how safe these things are.
And that's a good, not least because it's an extraordinary circumstance if you've got a plant that's hit by the two of both a big earthquake and a big wave of tsunami. And that it is that tsunami that knocked out all the emergency backups and so on. And I think it is an example of how these plants are built with what's called the secondary containment, which wasn't the case with some of the earlier plants, particularly the ones in Russia. But the secondary containment, these are built to huge standards of safety. They're built with a view in mind that disasters can happen, and how do we cater for that disaster? It's one of the reasons why they. So that is something that people can take away and at least feel secure that whatever we do here in the UK, as far as nuclear power is concerned, then we are doing it in an extremely safe manner and being truly aware that things unexpected can happen.
That's
secure in advance of that.
Yeah, that's good to know, Angela, although, of course, there is still a lot of local opposition to that particular power plant. Angela Knight, thank you very much indeed, former CEO of Energy UK.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more still to come.
Yes, 4 migrants are dead and several others injured, including a 1-year-old baby. That's after 2 tragedies in the Channel overnight. I mean, at this point, is the government almost complicit in this? We'll bring you the latest.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Should James Bond stay white and male?
Yes, I think that's probably the best course of action. If you think about it, Amazon have taken over Bond about a year ago, and they're a big company, aren't they? And this is a risk, isn't it? They don't want to be seen to cast their first James Bond in anything other than the most popular Bond to everybody. So if you're a casting director, like Debbie McWilliams has said, the previous one, I suppose it'd be who would be the most popular? What's the safest thing to do? So I think, in other iterations, there's nothing to say it couldn't be anything other than white, but this is the first one back, so I think it would be the safe thing to do. And it has to be a man. That's non-negotiable. I think audiences would instantly be complaining, and they want as little controversy going into this new film as they can.
The People's Channel. Martin Daubney. Weekdays from 3 p.m.
With the football, a row has erupted. A racism row again, this time at a Kent secondary school after pupils' children were allegedly told to scrub painted England flags from their arms because, you've guessed it, they were deemed as racist. Is this the woke flag monitors simply spoiling everybody's fun?
Now, look, if we are going to police flags, that's clearly a problem. I think there are lots of people who feel negatively towards the England flag because of what it's represented in the past, and that's a real shame. But it's nice to see that new generations, I'm the son of immigrants, and I don't feel that. I haven't inherited that, and that's really positive. Look, so we should be able to, especially during a football match, fly that flag with pride and enjoy it.
I know that part of the world a little bit. I travelled to Broadstairs, Thanet, Sandwich. You see the Union flag, and particularly the England flag, everywhere.
Yes.
Even under normal circumstances, you see the England flag being proudly flown. So this is completely insane.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
There was a Ryanair flight from Thessaloniki in Greece, and a part of the plane hit the window and pulled it out. And so this man, a 61-year-old Serbian man, was sucked out of the window. And his wife, she says that she was desperately holding onto his legs to keep him inside the plane for 5 minutes. Wow. It was horrendous. Apparently the aircraft did eventually land normally and passengers were safe and a replacement airline was sent. He was taken to hospital with friction burns. It was a part of the propeller had come loose from the engine and it had hit the window, and that's what had taken the window out. So it wasn't as though it was thought to be loose in the first place. But can you imagine?
No.
I mean,
I don't want to.
Unbelievable.
I'm
not a good flyer, I have to admit. This terrifies me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 10 to 1 and some breaking news to bring you now.
Yes, 4 migrants have died and more than half a dozen have been injured in separate incidents taking place in the English Channel overnight.
Well, we can speak now with our Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, tragedy in the Channel with this mass wave of boats that came across.
Yeah, this happened just hours after the busiest day so far this year in the English Channel, when GB News counted more than 730 migrants who were brought to Dover, having been intercepted, picked up in the middle of the Channel by Border Force when they reached the UK as part of that illegal journey. We want to show you some images of the beach in Dunkirk. First of all, this is the immediate aftermath of the rescue operation here. It was a boat that set off, you can see it just in the distance there, from the beach in Dunkirk at 3:30 in the morning this morning. That boat was overpacked, well over 70 people on board. The rescue services were called in after some of those were crushed, we believe, inside this boat. The rescue services pulled 3 women unconscious from the boat. They tried to revive them back on shore, but they were unable to revive these women that were declared dead at the scene. And then 7 others who were on board that vessel were also then plucked to safety. But the vessel continued on its way to the UK. It's now arrived in UK waters, and a Border Force vessel has picked up the remaining migrants and is taking them to Dover Harbour as we speak. The image you're looking at there is an image of the second boat involved in a tragedy at Hardlot Beach, which is south of Boulogne. That was around midnight last night. This was a so-called taxi boat coming into the beach itself to pick up the latest number of migrants. You can see scattered life jackets. Again, the aftermath of that tragedy in Hardlot Beach. Well, one man, believed to be in his 30s, died at the scene. 6 others, including a 1-year-old baby, was taken to hospital by the emergency services, and there has been reaction, as we would expect. And of course, described as a tragedy, many people horrified, accusing the callous people smugglers and the like. But I'll say, as I've said before, we can't absolve the illegal immigrants themselves from blame, in the sense that they seek out these people smugglers. They pay them thousands of pounds to embark on these dangerous journeys. And just a few days ago, we showed you those absolutely gut-wrenching, startling images of a mother with a child less than 2 years old on this same beach here, Hardlot Beach, south of Boulogne, trying to push past the police with her toddler to climb on board one of these taxi boats. It's really dangerous. And last night's events, overnight into the early hours this morning, just go to illustrate how starkly that is true.
Tragic scenes there, and ultimately there'll be questions now of the government of whether they've made this enough of a priority, not just to secure our borders and the safety of people in this country, but actually the safety and the lives of those who are trying to make that crossing too. Mark, thank you very much. Let's now speak to the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation.
OK, we're sticking with Mark, actually.
No, we're going to stick with Mark.
Mark, is it fair to say that it's often women, the women who die on these journeys? 3 out of 4 in this case.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Emily. What happens is that women, and this is why, I mean, it's dangerous for everybody, but particularly for women and children, because, they're often the weakest and the most vulnerable on these boats, and they get shoved. The men sit on the tubes either side of the migrant boats. Women and children and some of the men go into the centre of the boat. And when you've got a boat that's got 70 or 80 or 90 or more people on board, they're effectively getting crushed to death and suffocated. That appears to be what has happened on this occasion. And Tom was mentioning there, it's an issue, of course, for the government to address, but it seems now to be the policy of this new Burnham government to just kind of not engage and not talk about it, and hope that, the media storm around it will soon die down. They've seen clearly with Messrs Stammer and Sunak and various other prime ministers before that engaged with this issue and then got embroiled in a big what are you going to do about it? Well, number 10, anytime you ask them what they're going to do about it, points to Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood.
Well, it seems to go 2 ways, doesn't it, the debate after a tragedy like this? There are people who call for more safe and legal routes to try and prevent this, and then there are people who call for clampdowns and tougher policies.
Listen, I think this safer routes issue is just a non-starter. There are estimated to be more than 1 billion people who could be on the move from countries that, yes, absolutely, you could describe as fairly wretched, dysfunctional countries, that you can understand people wanting to leave and have a better life. But countries in the West just cannot afford to keep on taking people into their borders in very significant numbers because of all of the issues that creates in terms of having to provide for these people, and also the strain that it puts onto the social fabric of communities right across the UK, as we've seen so many times in the past.
Yeah, well, Mark White, thank you very much indeed for joining us and talking this story through. We'll, of course, have more on it throughout the programme today. It does seem like Andy Burnham can no longer not make any proactive intervention on this topic.
No, he's got to. He's got to very quickly indeed. We're going to take a break and we'll be back in a few minutes.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash. And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis. In the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 30th of July. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Tom Harwood. Well, a major incident has been declared after a large wildfire broke out in Suffolk, with 90 firefighters called to the scene to contain the blaze. It's just a few kilometres, or indeed miles away, from a nuclear plant at Sizewell B, but firefighters have said that there is not thought to be any danger to the nuclear power station at this time. That being said, the fire is not currently under control. We'll be speaking to locals impacted.
That's where 4 migrants are dead, several others injured, including a 1-year-old baby. 2 tragedies in the Channel overnight.
And as the Prime Minister promises to finally fix Britain's broken social care system, the Reform Party warns his plans could come with a truly extreme death tax, hitting families after a lifetime of saving.
It's the tax that Andy Burnham conspicuously refused to rule out yesterday. A universal death tax. A tax that he has been pushing for nigh on 20 years.
Now this is pretty nasty. A Green-run Hackney Council, East London, voted to sever nearly 60 years of ties with the Israeli city of Haifa over Gaza, and it initially asked for a response from the Israeli mayor to respond by October the 7th. An interesting choice of date, isn't it?
The body of a 38-year-old Scottish woman has been found inside a suitcase in an abandoned building in Athens. Investigators are examining claims that someone may have used her phone after her death. We'll bring you the latest.
And a British Airways jet was reportedly seconds from disaster after stalling just 4,000 feet above London, forcing the captain to physically intervene. Now, investigators are examining what's being described as Britain's most serious aviation near miss in years. Yeah, Andy Burnham was going to have to say something a bit more substantial than a quick little thought, you know, when he's pressed on it.
Yeah, I mean, all he's said is one answer to one question when he was asked it directly. I mean, ultimately, the government is going to have to face facts that this is one significant crisis that the British public are seriously concerned about, that now involves human tragedy both in the Channel as well as, of course, the human tragedy that sometimes occurs in this country as a result of unfettered, unverified landings. And ultimately, the government can't just pretend that everything is hunky-dory, that the numbers are going down, because now, for 3 weeks, the numbers have been going back up.
Yeah, a lot of people think one's too many. You know, one migrant boat's too many coming over here illegally. But as you say, you know, he doesn't seem to get exercised by certain crimes that are being committed. I mean, how many small migrants have found themselves in the court after horrific crimes have been committed? No word on that. You know, what's he going to do? He has to come out. It's a number one or number two issue in this country among most voters. You know, sort it out. Anyway, we'll pile the pressure on. We'll continue to. If he takes answers from Christopher Hope, perhaps that would be nice. Takes questions from him, I mean, not answers.
Well, do send your comments. We're keen to hear your views. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get in touch, as ever. But, of course, all that to come after your latest news headlines with Katie.
Tom, Emily, thank you and good afternoon. The headlines at 1:03. A major incident has been declared in Suffolk after a wildfire broke out at Dunwich Heath. Around 90 firefighters are tackling the blaze and helping to evacuate families from their homes. 200 caravans at a nearby holiday park have also been evacuated. Firefighters are warning that they are working in difficult conditions. In an update, the local council says the fire is not under control, with an area of 24.7 acres still ablaze. A spokesman for the energy company EDF has said that the wildfire is currently not affecting operations at Sizewell B power station. It's all as the Environment Agency announced that half of England, including Suffolk, is officially in drought. No injuries have as yet been reported. Much more on that breaking story as we get it. Elsewhere, 4 migrants have died and more than half a dozen others have been injured in separate incidents in the English Channel overnight. 3 women were pulled unconscious from one migrant boat that left a beach near Dunkirk at 3 o'clock this morning. Another migrant, a man believed to be in his 30s, died when a so-called taxi boat got into difficulties near a beach south of Boulogne at around midnight. The 3 female migrants were on board an overcrowded dinghy with more than 70 others when French rescue services were alerted to the ongoing emergency. That vessel is now entering British waters with 2 Border Force vessels waiting to pick up the occupants who will be taken to Dover. The Bank of England has held interest rates at 3.75% for the 5th time. Governor Andrew Bailey said inflation has fallen faster than expected, but the conflict in the Middle East continues to mean high and volatile energy prices. The bank warned that food inflation is expected to tick higher later this year. Some more distressing breaking news this hour. 22-year-old Harrison Simpson and 26-year-old Alexandra Walker have been jailed for life with the minimum terms of 28 years and 22 years respectively for the murder of her 2-year-old daughter Isabel Welsh. The pair were convicted of murder and child cruelty this week following a trial at Teesside Crown Court. Simpson was also convicted of sexually assaulting Isabel while her mother was cleared of that charge. The prosecution said Isabel had been a happy, healthy child until her mother started dating Simpson last summer. Detective Chief Inspector Steve Chatterton said Isabel suffered catastrophic injuries at the hands of the very people who should have loved her, cared for her and protected her. Andy Burnham is expected to unveil £8.4 billion of investment for Britain's new nuclear submarines. The Dreadnought class will replace the current Vanguard fleet and will be capable of launching Trident ballistic missiles. The Prime Minister says the project is about keeping Britain safe while backing British workers, firms and skills. But he's still facing questions over how he will fund wider defence promises, including commitments on NATO spending. And in sports, Eddie Howe has left his role as Newcastle head coach after almost 5 years in charge. The 48-year-old arrived in November 2021 and went on to lead Newcastle to Carabao Cup glory in 2025. His departure is understood to be amicable. Well, sticking with the sporting world, New Zealander Stephen Fleming has been confirmed as England's new Test cricket head coach, and Joe Root will take over again as Red Bull captain. Those are your latest GBNews headlines. Quick look at the markets.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
The pound will buy you $1.34 and €1.17. The price of gold is £3,044 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 10,929 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
OK, it's 8 minutes past 1, and yes, there's a major incident in Suffolk as a wildfire has broken out across Dunwich Heath.
Well, firefighters are tackling the blaze and helping evacuate families. It's being reported that Sizewell B, a nuclear power station, has been put on high alert as it's located just 3 miles south of the fire.
Well, joining us now from Loughborough's weather expert, Phil Moorish. Phil, thank you very much indeed. So at the moment, it looks as though the wind is sort of heading in a positive direction, but these things are like dynamic, aren't they?
They are, and we had yesterday in Essex 35 Celsius, 95 Fahrenheit, and that part of Essex has had no rain now for nearly 40 days. We've had the driest July we've ever had, and say 40 days in that part of the world. So the vegetation has been tinder dry. Anything that can start it very, very quickly and the fire will spread. Now, the weather conditions are gradually changing this afternoon. We've got a weak cold front coming in from the west, where I am in Leicestershire. It's cloudy now, and there's a little bit of rain. And that cloud is going to move across. There's going to be a westerly wind, and temperatures are not going to be as high. This afternoon, 24 to 25, which will help the firefighters, help the rescue mission, and so not as hot as it was yesterday, but it's still very, very dry. And it's very easy for these fires to take hold. We had one here in Leicestershire near Shepshed as well yesterday. Whether they're accidental or they're very spread very quickly, fire will go quicker than a man can run, and very, very dangerous indeed.
Yeah, I mean, what we need is some rain, isn't it?
We do now. There's not a lot of rain. As I said, the little bit of rain is coming through, but time it gets to Essex is very little. Now, the next few days, it's going to cool down a little, and we have the prospect of 1 or 2 showers next week across the south. Not a lot of rain, but some. It'll be the first rain we've had for 40 days, and it'll certainly ease the pressure. And certainly, we're not returning to those high temperatures of 35 within a week or so. But it's likely to return after that. But we could get a break in the weather, a bit cooler for these fires to be taken under control, and a bit cooler, but still with a very high risk. There's not been a lot of rain, and really take care is the message. No outdoor barbecues. Be careful how you're discarding cigarettes. Make sure you're actually taking the utmost care. Even broken glass can set off fires, and it's going to be so easily done. So just take care and think when you're outside in such very, very dry, treacherous conditions at the moment.
And Phil, just how unusual are these conditions? I mean, from an anecdotal perspective, I mean, we've had, 4 heat waves now this summer? It feels like it's been hotter than it has been in quite some time. How does that compare with the data?
It certainly does. Now, of the last 10 summers, 9 have been above average, and 4 have been very good compared to usual British summers. They say we have record heat in May, 35 Celsius in May, something that's never happened before in our country, temperatures that high in May. We repeated it in June with 38 Celsius, not far from where the fire is, east of Norfolk. In the 26th of June, and we've had another slightly intense but much longer heat wave lasting 2.5, 3 weeks now, and it is very unusual to get so much heat in our climate, and it is becoming more common. I say, of the last 10 summers, 9 have been average, 3 have been very good. This one's been exceptional, and that is the way things are going at the moment. So yes, and as we have this, fires have become more common, more widespread, and we're talking about a climate more akin to the Mediterranean. I know they're suffering from much greater fires, but it's a similar conditions here, and it's something we've really got to be careful of in the future. Also, talking about that, we have had this drought very, very quickly. We had record rainfall in the winter. So we really in this country have got to build more reservoirs, make sure we can contain more water and use it, because weather patterns are changing. We get great periods of dry and drought. Then we get great periods of heavy rain and very little what we call average weather. In my 30 years of recording weather, it's gone from one extreme to another over the last 10 years. And it's certainly something we've got to think about as we plan our water resources in the future. But certainly hotter summers are here to stay.
No, absolutely, Phil, I'm with you there. In fact, in my entire lifetime, we have not built a single major reservoir in England. The population's grown by about 14 million people. The weather's got hotter and we haven't built a new single sodding reservoir. It's astonishing how we've sort of pressed pause on development in this country. Phil Morris, thank you very much indeed for joining us, weather expert.
A single sodding reservoir.
Yeah.
It's got a ring to it.
I think they're all quite sodding, aren't they? Or is that sodden? Anyway.
Perhaps sodden, yeah. Should we speak to Sophie Louise Youngs, who's on the line now? Sophie, you're the owner of Dunwich Equestrian, so you're very much in the area. Tell us, how close are you to these wildfires? Thank you for joining us.
Hi, yeah. So they are about a mile down the road from us on the heath. So we can very much see all the smoke, and we have been able to see a few flames. It's just scary because everywhere's so dry, and obviously for anyone that has had or has livestock, you know that fire is really scary. If it takes hold, obviously you have to move them to safety. We haven't had to do that yet. We've managed to move them within the village itself, but yeah, we're just hoping that the wind stays as it is and they can put it out and get it under control.
Well, I suppose that's the huge concern. Obviously, human beings can sort of move themselves, but it's the animals in the area that will be perhaps trapped. And there have been horrific reports in continental Europe of animals being trapped. So you've taken some precautions with your livestock?
Yeah, so we've got 110 acres in the village. So while some of our land is sort of about a mile away from the wildfire, we've got a lot of marshland as well and land down near the beach. So we've got plenty of areas to move them to where they'll be safe. But yeah, for anybody who's ever in this situation and they are stuck on a small parcel of land, it must be so scary. And also, our real contingency plan is if it really gets out of control, then we'll just move all the horses off-site to a completely different location. So we have that in place as well, but for people that don't, it's really scary, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Are your horses? Do you think they've noticed anything?
No. Do you know what? We've got 30 here on. We run a retirement livery yard, so they're all retired race horses, sports horses, and they're here to retire by the sea. But they actually really haven't noticed. I think we've all been far more worried than they have. Even with the smoke yesterday when it came over quite thick. And we moved a few onto higher ground. They haven't really noticed. I think it's more us, but equally, it doesn't make it any less scary, does it?
Blissfully unaware.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, this fire started yesterday. When did you first notice that this was something out of the ordinary?
So yesterday afternoon, about 5:30, is when we first got alerted to it. And then by 7:30, so a couple of hours later, it had really ramped up. And the whole village was sort of covered in thick smoke. And there was a period where people were obviously panicking and worried about whether they needed to evacuate themselves from their homes. And obviously they have evacuated some people up at the caravan park, which is really close to the fire itself. So from about 7:30 onwards yesterday, we were all here, me and the girls that work on the yard for me. We were moving the horses, and then we all stayed until about sort of midnight, 1 in the morning, and then got a couple of hours sleep, and then came back at about 4 in the morning to make sure everyone was okay and to feed everyone. Luckily, the wind changed direction, so it pushed it out to sea, but it was a bit scary for a time there, yeah.
Have you had any?
How you could possibly sleep when you know that things can change, wind can change.
Did you get any calls from anyone official, any sort of official communication, or have they sort of just left it to your common sense in terms of what to do?
Look, you know, the fire rescue service have absolutely been brilliant. There's about 90 members of staff up there battling the flames. I think there's about 17 engines up there. They are super, super busy, but do you know what? They really did keep us all updated. They have my number anyway because I've got livestock in the area. So if anything drastic had happened, they give you a call so that you can evacuate the livestock. And equally, they were really good with the people that live in the village full time. So we credit to Suffolk Fire Service, because without them, the whole village would have gone, and Dunwich is a special place. This place is ancient and it's been here thousands of years, and it's a real shame to see a part of it, a light like that, and it's got it's a conservation area. The RSPB have worked really hard to maintain that habitat, and to see it all gone like that is actually really sad.
Yeah, it is very sad to watch when you can't do anything about it. It feels sort of helpless.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it sounds like you're being looked after. So I guess you just need to look after yourself and those horses.
Yeah.
I hope everything is okay going forward. Let us know if we can help in any way. Sophie Louise Youngs, owner of Dunwich Equestrian. Really, really happy to have you on. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come on today's programme.
Yes, we'll bring you any updates on the Suffolk wildfire. It's been declared a major incident only 3-4 miles away from a nuclear plant. We'll keep you up to date.
But after the break, Green-run Hackney Council votes to sever nearly 60 years of ties with the Israeli city of Haifa over Gaza. And guess what? The date they chose to disaffiliate, to break their tie with this Israeli city, the 7th of October.
Pretty grim. All of that and more to come. Your GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 22 minutes past 1. Get this. A Green Run council has apologised after giving an Israeli city until October the 7th to respond to plans to end a decades-long twinning arrangement.
Yeah, the Hackney mayor, Zoe Agarbert, wrote to her counterpart in Haifa, that's the Israeli city, with the original deadline. And of course, this prompted pretty quickly accusations of insensitivity, at the very least, because it falls on the anniversary of the Hamas terrorist attacks.
Well, the council has since changed the date, this deadline to untwin, to the 5th of October.
Right, OK. Well, we're now joined by the President of the Board of Deputies of British Jews, Phil Rosenberg. Phil, I was quite shocked to read this. So the relationship between Hackney Council and this city in Israel has been 60-odd years. Goes back a long time. They've decided now that they don't want to twin with that city anymore over the allegation of genocide. Now, apparently, I mean, maybe you can tell me more. Apparently, this city is a beacon of progressiveness and multiculturalism, and it's a very vibrant place, the sort of place you might think that Hackney would want to maintain a relationship with.
Well, the Hackney Greens are showing that they're not progressive, they're just prejudiced. Haifa, as you say, is a diverse and integrated city. If you visit, it's a beautiful city with the high-hanging gardens. Arabs and Jews live alongside one another. And if you look at the makeup of the city council in Haifa, it's led by a progressive mayor. The second largest party are the Green Party, and there's significant representation from Arabs and indeed communists on the council. It's a pretty progressive place. And if Hackney was serious about being progressive, they'd probably want to learn from Haifa. But this is showing sort of prejudice over common sense, and I think really Hackney have let themselves down.
Hackney, of course, has one of the largest Orthodox Jewish communities in the country. I mean, a significant part of Hackney is Jewish, and yet let's get on to this really quite peculiar. I mean, I don't want to say it was deliberate, perhaps it was just incredibly ignorant, but choosing that particular date, the 7th of October, to untwin for. What on earth do you think was going on there?
The whole initiative is spite over sense, because they shouldn't be detwinning. But absolutely, I mean, it underscores the stupidity of the move. They have emphasised that Israel was attacked on the 7th of October and shown breathtaking insensitivity by going forward on that date. And it really, I hope, gives them pause to rethink this. That actually, particularly Haifa of all places, which is the city they should be using as an example of what they want to see in the region, is the city that they're stigmatising. They should be celebrating Haifa, not censoring Haifa.
Isn't it interesting that they talk about their anti-racist values? I mean, as you say, surely this is just simply an example of prejudice. Their biases on full display.
Really, and if you want to promote peace, you would hold up cities like Haifa, right? If you look across the entire Middle East, there are very few cities that have Jews, Christians, Muslims living together, and indeed the Baha'i community, which has its world centre in Haifa, living alongside each other in the way that they do in Haifa. So Hackney really is displaying its ignorance and its prejudice in this move.
It just reminds me of the idea that Hamas attacked the Nova Music Festival in the first place. A festival of peace, of young people, of people who... Probably quite a few people from Haifa, actually, probably given the demographics.
Demographic.
Yeah. And ultimately then, the response to ignore that sort of twinning and that sort of humanity. And I've got to ask you, do you think that the choosing of this date was deliberate? Why on earth do you think that the council chose the anniversary of the biggest slaughter of Jews since the Holocaust to say this is when we're going to split from your town?
It's hard to know what's going through their head on a lot of things, frankly. It is breathtakingly insensitive, whether it's deliberate or not. But just to give you an idea, unfortunately, this has been germane to the wider Green Party. I think at their last conference, I understand it, a Palestinian peace activist was boycotted because they're part of an Israeli-Palestinian peacemaking organisation.
Seriously?
Decided to boycott the Palestinian because she works with Israelis. And this just shows the Green Party is not interested in peace. Actually, it should be holding up people like that Palestinian peace activist, like the city of Haifa, who are showing the way forward, not boycotting or suspending links. I mean, as I say, Hackney could learn a thing or two from Haifa about integration and diversity and how you treat people with good values and kindness.
Okay, I mean, the 7th of October, I mean, if it's not the anniversary date, then it's just a random Wednesday. 7th of October 2026 is just a random Wednesday. I think anyone who sees that date, particularly when you're talking about Israel-Palestine and the like, would, an alarm would go off.
You'd think.
You'd think maybe let's not pick that date, But anyway, Phil, thank you very much indeed. Phil Rosenberg there, President of the Board of Deputies of British Jews on that one. Pretty low.
Now, of course, it's important to say that the Mayor of Hackney, Zoe Garbett, has said that this council stands up for human rights and wants to ensure our global connections reflect our shared core values. We want active ethical partnerships that champion peace. She continued, given the ongoing humanitarian crisis and the gravity of the UN Commission of Inquiry reports concluding Israel has committed genocide, maintaining a civic connection with what is widely considered is a military port city is fundamentally at odds with our anti-racist values.
Do you know what else is irritating? These local politicians who clearly want to grandstand on international issues more than they want to, serve their constituents. When are they writing letters about, things that are actually happening in the area?
I'm sure the people of Hackney care more about their bin collections.
You would think so.
But
And as you say, a huge Jewish community in Hackney. Are their thoughts just sort of ignored? Perhaps.
Yeah, we haven't got to the bottom, really, of why the initial date was the 7th of October.
Well, they say it was a mistake. They've apologised.
And it has now been changed to the 5th of October, which I believe is the Monday, rather than, as you say, the random Wednesday.
And who are they going to couple with instead? Gaza City, or...?
I mean, you'd think that ordinarily you'd do it at the end of the week or a start of the week. Why would it be...
Well, it looks to me like it's intended to be spiteful. Now, obviously, I do not know what the intention is. I'm not in this person's mind, am I? But, yeah.
Just utterly bizarre. What do you think? GBNews.com/your say is, of course, the way to get involved in that conversation and many others as well.
Well, it's an endless series of blunders from the Green Party, as points out Martin in our inbox. Anyway, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. We've got lots more coming up on today's show, so do stick with us. But first, it's your latest news headlines.
Good afternoon. The headlines at 1:30. A major incident has been declared in Suffolk after a wildfire broke out at Dunwich Heath. Homes and a caravan park have been evacuated, with more than 90 firefighters warning they are currently working in difficult conditions. Elsewhere, 4 migrants have died and more than half a dozen others have been injured in separate incidents in the English Channel overnight. The Bank of England has held interest rates at 3.75% for the 5th time. Governor Andrew Bailey said inflation has fallen faster than expected, but the conflict in the Middle East continues to mean high and volatile energy prices. And in the sporting world, Eddie Howe has left his role as Newcastle head coach after almost 5 years in charge. The 48-year-old arrived in November 2021 and went on to lead Newcastle to Carabao Cup glory in 2025. Those are your latest headlines. More from me at the top of the hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now just gone 1:30, and it's time for the Great British Giveaway now. Your chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real fine gold bar worth over £5,000. Here are all the details you need.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British Giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like this year. What would you do with that? And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. It's pure gold to own, trade or gift to a loved one and secure their financial future. So make sure you don't miss your chance to bank over £65,000 worth of prizes in our Golden Summer celebration. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, well, good luck in that competition, but we've got lots more coming up on today's show. Yes, more on the Suffolk wildfire. It remains a major incident. Fire and rescue services continue to respond.
Well, all of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. Now, there is actually a bit of rain around for some of us, even in the south today, but also some sunshine. And worth bearing in mind, with a cold front pushing its way through, we are seeing things turning a bit fresher than it was yesterday, but nonetheless in the southeast it is still quite hot. As I mentioned, there's some rain, outbreaks of rain across particularly the northern half of Scotland, and then a few spots of rain elsewhere. Quite a bit of cloud across central, southern, southwestern parts of England into Wales, and a few outbreaks of rain pushing their way eastwards. But there will also be some sunshine. Like I mentioned though, it is a bit fresher for many of us. Temperatures in the southeast down around 5 degrees compared to yesterday, but nonetheless could still get to high 20s, perhaps even low 30s in some places. Also need to watch out for the potential for some further showers into this evening. Could turn thundery across parts of East Anglia in particular, but they're going to be very isolated, not a huge amount of them. A few more showers across parts of Northern Ireland, central and northern parts of Scotland. Some of them could be a bit heavy, but the rain's not going to be as persistent as it has been earlier on this week here. As we go overnight, we're sticking with a few showery bursts of rain here and there, mainly across parts of Scotland, but a few further south can't be ruled out. There's the potential that some rain around the North Sea could push into parts of East Anglia through the night, but I'm not particularly confident about that. Likely it will stay just to the east, with much of England and Wales staying dry overnight. It is going to be a little bit fresher, a bit chillier perhaps than some recent nights, more widely seeing temperatures into single figures perhaps, so not as warm as it has been recently. More showery rain across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England and perhaps Wales through tomorrow. There will be some drier, perhaps sunnier weather here, but it's across central southern parts of the UK where it's going to be largely dry and sunny. Here temperatures will be down compared to today, but only by a couple of degrees.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A1M between junctions 3 and 4 is closed. The A11 is closed after the A134 in Thetford. The A428 is closed after the A1 near St Neots. The A4117 is closed after the A429. The A361 is closed after the A396. There is an obstruction on the M27 westbound between junctions 10 and 9 near Whiteley. The M1 northbound between junctions 16 and 17 in Daventry has caution advised in Scotland. And on the trains, ScotRail is experiencing major disruption between Glasgow Queen Street and Edinburgh via Airdrie. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 36 minutes past 1. Now, firefighters are battling with a large wildfire in Suffolk, just a few miles away from Britain's biggest nuclear power station.
Yes, a major incident has been declared. 90 firefighters are deployed to tackle the blaze at Dunwich Heath.
Well, we're joined now by Independent Councillor for Saxmundham and District, Julia Ewart. Julia, thanks indeed for joining us. This is a deep concern, no doubt, for people in the area. Just how much do we know, and is this fire yet under control?
It's certainly not under control in a way that they could say that they're coming out. It's going to be quite a journey. But because they're so efficient and they work so well, you maybe not know that many of our firemen are reservists, and they work tirelessly to be ready for incidents like this, particularly because we've, of course, got the power station next door. So I know that they're working very well, but it is not going to be an easy journey whatsoever. It's so dry up here.
Yeah, have you had a lot of locals getting in touch with your office, sort of concerned about what they're seeing out the window?
Well, they can't quite see it from here, so I'm in the next district down,
right,
and
okay.
we're the service town that looks after that area. And so we're being proactive in what we can do to support. So yesterday evening, I popped a call out. We've already got a sort of a way of being able to communicate with each other, and lots of wagons turned up outside Tesco's. They very generously gave us loads of water and energy bars, and off they went. And it just went straight into the control centre up near the fire, but straight back out again, because one of the villages, Westleton, is the command centre and the rest centre. So it's all very efficient, I have to say.
Yeah, you're very rural. Is there a strong sense of community, sort of people helping each other out?
I think, you know what, when we had the pandemic, that really brought that into sort of a sharp focus, that we had to learn how to work together. We're incredibly rural. We don't have many buses. And consequently, we're used to looking after each other, bringing the milk, taking the newspaper. And on this occasion, sorting out and being with, in fact, yesterday evening, what was very poignant in the store was the wife of a firefighter who helped load because she works at Tesco's. And there was a mum whose husband was going to take things because he'd been a firefighter, and it was his lad that was on the crew. So it's all very personal up here.
Yeah. Now, just looking at these pictures, we can just see the scale of this fire, the plume of smoke and the acres that are affected, really. I mean, this has been going since yesterday afternoon. Do you have any indication of when it might start to die down?
Not at all. I'm one removed from that, with the greatest of respect. Although I have to say, Fire Chief has been in contact this morning. I do know that there was an 8 o'clock meeting with absolutely everybody who's on the team, from the county council on which I sit, right the way through down into the villages. It's all being handled very efficiently. The dilemma again is that, of course, we have the reserve crews. So when they switch, I suspect that the crews are coming from other parts of Suffolk who are also reservists. So it's a big piece of work to have to contain. And the other thing is, we haven't had anything like this for a very, very long time. So it's very dry, it's very established, and therefore it's very big.
Yeah, I mean, dealing with a fire like this is an incredibly physical job, I can imagine. So you do have to swap out those firefighters regularly. As you say, probably bringing in people from across Suffolk, but perhaps even further afield.
Well, I suspect that will be the case as they go forward. I can see very clearly there's a plan folding out. It's not for me to discuss that, but that is that is obviously going to be the plan as they're looking probably to colleagues up in Norfolk and down in Essex to come forward to be able to help. And also bringing forward key skills is a totally different issue. I think the closest we get to a fire like this would be a thatch. I'm not sure that we've really had that many, although of course we have our agricultural fires in many of the fields when combines ignite.
And Julia, what are you doing to, I mean, we don't know what caused this fire, but it seems from the experts we've spoken to, it is probably human activity. I mean, what are you doing as a councillor to try and make sure people don't behave, in a stupid fashion, frankly, in a selfish fashion, with the barbecues, with the smoking, and not putting out your butts and things like that?
I think it's fair to say, first of all, let's just talk about Dunwich Heath. It is the jewel in Suffolk's crown. It is so special, regardless of the fact it's got the confounded nuclear station next door. And consequently, it's hallowed ground. This will be where the conversation is. Nobody would smoke there generally or have a barbecue or do anything ridiculous. So this may have happened maybe due to waste and maybe a refraction with a piece of glass or something such like. As a community, we really do try to keep our litter down. And we have literally got boxes absolutely everywhere. So that would be a surprise as well. And that's why we fight against having takeaways up the A12, because we are very much a rural community and we eat from farm to fork.
And speaking of eating from farm to fork, some of the local pubs in the area have now announced that they have closed. This will be something that sort of has a knock-on effect, I suppose, for the local economy, for perhaps tourism. What do you expect is going to be happening in the days and weeks ahead?
Well, I think in the first instance, watching those caravans come out last night on site, seeing people looking absolutely white, having to clear up. We stopped a number of vehicles to ask if they needed support because the village hall and the village of Westleton were offering accommodation, and they were saying that they were on their way home. The pubs locally will be just being sensible. We have got some fantastic pubs around there, absolutely eminent. But the point is, if they are blocking the traffic, then nobody can get through. And right now, we need to be sensible. You can see that it's blowing in a certain direction, but we don't need to be adding to that issue. And I think they're probably being wise. And it's such a loved area. For sure, people will be back. They'll be back as soon as they can.
OK, well, fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Julia. Good luck to you and everyone who lives around you, really. I hope
and to our crews. Let's think about our crews having the stamina.
Well, absolutely. Thank you. Independent councillor for Saxmundham and District, Julia Hewitt there. Yeah, I mean, rural areas, most people do behave themselves very well because they care about the area they live in. It's not like that everywhere, though, is it?
No. And often you get people travelling into areas that they're not necessarily from and being...
They don't care so much about the surrounding area, so they just treat places like a rubbish bin.
Well, it's the age-old tragedy of the commons, isn't it?
Oh.
If you have ownership over something, you want to protect it more. Whereas if it's if you don't feel that sense of ownership, well, very often people are a lot more careless.
Yeah, if you own your home, you're more likely to paint the windowsill, Tom.
Yeah. Speaking of, I really should paint my windows.
I don't want to say anything,
Yeah.
Anyway, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. We've got lots more coming up.
Yes, a British Airways jet was reportedly seconds from disaster after stalling just 4,000 feet above London, forcing the captain to physically intervene. We'll have the alarming details.
But if you're in search of some holiday sun, getting on a jet somewhere to Europe...
It is safe.
It is safe, yes. Generally, yes. Here's the forecast.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Things remain very hot across Italy and parts of southern Spain. 1 or 2 showers in northern Spain and across the south of France. Plenty of sunshine for Greece and Turkey. Hot in Croatia as well as Italy. 40 degrees in Rome. 1 or 2 showers possible in southern France. More likely to see thunderstorms over more central parts of France. The odd shower over northern Spain too, but most of Spain and Portugal dry and sunny. Pretty hot in the Canaries as well. Plenty more sunshine throughout the weekend also.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Charlie, as most of the viewers know, I would be involved in agriculture. This isn't quite agriculture. It's quite close to it, the cousins of. A lot of things that go on in agriculture are on display here. Thousands of people coming to this site, Ragley Hall, just about 45 minutes out of Birmingham.
We are the modern ruralists, and here today we have the craft yard. We've got 9 different crafts, all demonstrating what they're up to. Here we have the wheelwrights, and they're bonding a wheel here. So this is an ancient craft that's been going for about. Barney Murray's a bit of a legend, quite frankly. He's the national champion, master dry stone waller, comes from North Wales, and he's a bit of a Thor lookalike. So he's quite popular.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now at 16 minutes past 8, the annual bike ride from Yorkshire to London is taking place today, aiming to honour the legacy of the Batley and Spen Labour MP Jo Cox, who was murdered by a far-right terrorist in June of 2016.
Well, the bike ride aims to champion a cause she was passionate about, as this year marks the 10th anniversary of her tragic death.
Kim, if we can just start with you, what is your sister's legacy?
Well, there's so much that we've got to be proud of that's been done in Jo's name. It's just been 10 years since she was murdered, and what has kept us going as a family has been the way that so many amazing people, including people like this amazing man, have done things in Jo's name to show what our country is really about. And you've got all these amazing people today from all different backgrounds, all walks of life, celebrating the things that we have in common, not agreeing on everything.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
It's a difficult question. Honestly, I don't think I would at this rate, because I think the government tracks, when we say we're fighting for Britain, what are we actually fighting for? The concept of Britain, I don't think exists anymore. When I look at Britain, when I go outside, it doesn't seem to be very British. And I think the core demographic of the people who would normally fight, these white working class boys who, you know, have been fighting for Britain, who we expect just to sacrifice their life in a fight, you know, they've been demonised for decades and decades by the government, by our education system, by the media. Economically, they've been disadvantaged. So why would we expect them to risk their lives when we've demonised them for so long and took them for granted for so long? And this concept of Britain fighting for the British government, you know, the British government has betrayed us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 10 to 2. Now, a British Airways passenger jet was reportedly just seconds from disaster during its approach to Heathrow after what investigators have described as a serious loss of control in flight.
Yeah, this is very worrying indeed. The Airbus A320 stalled around 4,000 feet above London after an error by the first officer, and then the captain was forced to intervene physically to regain control.
Well, the incident is said to have come dangerously close to a catastrophic accident.
Right, well, joining us now is former Boeing 747 pilot and aviation consultant Alistair Rosenshine. Alistair, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So tell us, in sort of layman's terms, what exactly happened here?
Well, reports are a little bit confused.
Right.
What appears to have happened is that the main control system on the Airbus, it's a computerized system, fly-by-wire system, failed. And so it reverted to what's called alternate law. So from a normal form of computer control to this alternate form. And the alternate form of control doesn't provide protection for the aircraft flight envelope. And that means that it is possible to stall or roll the aircraft a bit too much one way or the other, or pitch up too highly. So those protections that Airbus has included in their software were no longer working. And at this point, the pilots were then having to fly the thing, still fly by wire, but they're having to control the aircraft within that envelope themselves. And therein lies a problem. It appears that the aircraft reduced speed quite dramatically and then lost some altitude. Now, a full stall in a swept-wing aircraft, in a modern Airbus, would be very difficult to recover from the altitudes we're talking about, 4,000, maybe 6,000 feet. You need a lot of airspace to do so. So it is possible that a recovery was done at what we call the incipient stage, where you get a stall warning, but the aircraft hasn't fully stalled. And by the way, stalling does not mean the engine stopping. It means the airflow breaking off the surface of the wings, which provide lift.
So that's a much more serious thing then, because of course you could glide if your engine cut out, but if you lose your lift, well, you've lost your lift. But that's a great tautology from me there. But Alistair, you were really describing just how much of this is automated, really, in day-to-day flying. The pilots and captains, first officers, they're helped a lot by the software, and when that software goes awry or cuts off, it's much more difficult, perhaps, to fly one of these planes than it was in decades past.
Well, yes, you're right. I mean, if you take, for example, Boeing's made in the last decade and before that, they didn't have this form of advanced controls that Airbus have. So you would get a warning if the aircraft was going to stall. You get a warning, and then the pilots will do whatever actions are necessary to recover the aircraft and to prevent this stall. But in an Airbus, they have this wonderful protection, and it is a fantastic system, very, very sophisticated, that allows the pilots pretty much to over-control the aircraft, but the aircraft will not allow itself to be put into a dangerous position because of this software. But in this case here, it appears that this main protection system had failed. And so they're then reverting to flying just as you would do on, say, a Boeing aircraft. And it is, pilots on Airbus are used to having this protection, and they rely on this protection. But when it fails, they do get a warning on their screen. They know that it has failed, and therefore their training will tell them exactly what they have to do in these instances. But it does appear that something in addition to that has gone wrong in this instance, and it is being investigated. I mean, stalling an airliner at low altitude is a very, very serious incident.
I mean, as a pilot yourself, how important is it to keep a cool head?
Well, you try and keep your cool head all the time. There are times when you must admit that you get somewhat nervous, but you can concentrate on controlling the aircraft, on protecting the aircraft, and therefore the passengers and yourself. And if you look after yourself, then the passengers will be okay too. But I have to say that you train yourself to be cool simply because the alternative is makes you unprofessional and unable to operate an aircraft.
It is astonishing that there are just hundreds of aeroplanes flying over our major cities every single day. Yeah. And this incident, thankfully, is still quite rare.
Oh, yes, it is extremely rare. In my 30-odd years of flying airliners, I had stall warner go 3 times. Twice were false warnings, and I can tell you it certainly gets your attention. And the other time was a genuine one when we were forced into flying through a thunderstorm. There was no choice. We ended up in this thunderstorm. We got a stall warning, and that was genuine. But we were at high altitude.
And you could recover. Well, Alistair, I'm afraid we've run to time, but thank you so much for joining us. Alistair Rosensheen, former pilot. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more to come after this short break.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good afternoon to you. This is your latest Met Office weather update for GB News. Now, there are going to be some showers around, even a few thundery ones, but many places, particularly towards the south, will be largely dry through the next few days with some sunshine. A big talking point, though, is the fact that it's turning fresher. There is a cold front making its way southeastwards, and that's leading to a drop in temperatures. In the southeast, it's still been hot today, but not as hot as it was yesterday, and things are turning fresher. There are some showery bursts of rain to watch out for through this evening and overnight, perhaps some thundery ones over parts of East Anglia, but elsewhere the showers look more intermittent and less likely to be intense. It's going to be a fresher night than it has been recently. Temperatures, particularly towards the north and west, dropping into single figures, especially away from the towns and cities. First thing tomorrow morning, a few showery outbreaks of rain across northern and western parts of Scotland in particular, more central eastern areas and southern parts starting the day largely dry, even some sunshine here. A few showers, 1 or 2 showers across Northern Ireland through the morning, but also some sunny spells. A few showery outbreaks across some northern parts of England and Wales, but more central southern areas where it's a dry start here. Just a bit more cloud towards the southeast, and there could be some showers around coastal parts of East Anglia. The north-south split sort of continues as we go through tomorrow. So showery bursts of rain, a bit more cloud across northern parts. Further south it's looking dry and plenty of sunshine here. Despite the sunshine though, temperatures, if anything, will be down a few degrees compared to today. We're looking at them peaking in the mid-20s as opposed to the high 20s or low 30s that we've had today. Later on tomorrow, more showery bursts of rain across northern parts. Further south, there may be some showers coming into parts of Wales, but generally it's looking dry for a little while longer. More fine weather to come across southern areas through the weekend and into next week, but further north always a greater chance of some rain. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the Great British Giveaway Golden Summer Celebration. Your chance to win 2 fantastic prizes. There's an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also get your hands on a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 30th of July. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver. Yes, a major incident in Suffolk has been declared. 120 firefighters now battle a huge wildfire just 3 miles from Britain's biggest nuclear power station. Now, hundreds have been evacuated. Sizewell B nuclear power plant closely monitoring the blaze.
Meanwhile, 4 migrants are dead and several others injured, including a 1-year-old baby, after 2 tragedies in the English Channel overnight.
GB News can reveal 27 businesses on a single London street are approved to sponsor foreign workers, as the number of licensed firms quadruple in just 5 years. And yes, that does include a chicken shop, apparently, Tom.
Also, as the Prime Minister promises to finally fix Britain's broken social care system, the Reform Party warns his plans could come with a truly extreme death tax, hitting families after a lifetime of savings.
It's the tax that Andy Burnham conspicuously refused to rule out yesterday. A universal death tax. A tax that he has been pushing for nigh on 20 years.
All right, well, over in Athens, the body of a 38-year-old Scottish woman has been found inside a suitcase in an abandoned building. Investigators are examining claims that someone may have used her phone after her death. We'll bring you the latest.
And a new poll reveals Britain's favourite royals. And a surprising rebellion against the king from one group of voters. Can you guess who? Well, we'll reveal all the results.
Tom, is Greggs taking over Britain? Do you know what?
Is Greggs taking over Britain? I mean, I would welcome the merciful relief of our new Greg-like overlords.
Well, it's happening because did you know Greggs already has 2,773 bakeries in Britain and it's looking to add another 110 sites, and then they want another 700 still to come.
So it used to be the case that Greggs was sort of the bastion of the north.
It's everywhere
and
now.
Pret-a-Manger was the bastion of the south. and it does seem that in this battle of the convenient lunchtime places to buy a bit of
breakfast
to settle your peckishness, or breakfast, it does seem like Greggs is advancing. I'm sort of imagining a sort of Wars of the Roses map, or perhaps a sort of Civil War map. You've got your royalists and your parliamentarians. I think if anything, the parliamentarians are Greggs. And the royalists are Pret, and you can just
What's
sort of
he going on
imagine
about?
you can imagine the sort of shaded areas of the country, the advances and the retreats, and
It's miraculous, you know, how you managed to turn a thought into a monologue. I enjoyed it. I'm not actually. I stopped listening sort of halfway through, Tom.
It's a bit like in Germany. You have Aldi.
Oh no, here we go.
You've got Aldi Nord
We
and
do.
Aldi Süd.
Do we?
Yeah. So I think
thought we had Lidl.
I think the Aldi that we have in Britain is Aldi Süd.
Right.
But basically, there were two brothers that
That's
founded
very
it,
interesting.
and they split the company. One that was meant to be North Germany, one South, and then they split all the other countries for
Well, anyway,
expansion.
Greggs isn't even that cheap anymore, and that was the point of it.
Oh.
It's not even that cheap anymore, but it has made £1.1 billion of sales in the last year, so that's good, isn't it?
That's
a British success story. Anyway, it is time for the headlines with Katie.
Tom, Emily, thank you and good afternoon. The headlines at 2:03. A major incident has been declared in Suffolk after a wildfire broke out at Dunwich Heath. 120 firefighters and 18 fire engines are currently tackling the blaze. Suffolk Fire Service say the wildfire is still developing and progressing, with Chief Fire Officer John Lacey saying it could continue for the next 36 hours. Suffolk Fire Service also confirmed this lunchtime that they will launch an investigation into the fire. Officials say the fire is now burning an area the size of 140 football pitches. Firefighters are helping to evacuate families from their homes, and nearby holiday park has now been fully evacuated. A spokesman for energy company EDF has said that the wildfire is currently not affecting operations at Sizewell B power station. No injuries have as yet been reported. Much more on this breaking story as we get it. Elsewhere, 4 migrants have died and more than half a dozen others have been injured in separate incidents in the English Channel overnight. 3 women were pulled unconscious from one migrant boat that left a beach near Dunkirk at 3 o'clock this morning. Another migrant, a man believed to be in his 30s, died when a so-called taxi boat got into difficulties near a beach south of Boulogne around midnight. The 3 female migrants were on board an overcrowded dinghy with more than 70 others when French rescue services were alerted to to the ongoing emergency. That vessel, with 75 migrants on board, has now arrived at Dover Harbour. The Bank of England has held interest rates at 3.75% for the fifth time. Governor Andrew Bailey said inflation has fallen faster than expected, but the conflict in the Middle East continues to mean high and volatile energy prices. The bank warned that food inflation is expected to tick higher later this year. Some distressing breaking news to bring you this hour. 22-year-old Harrison Simpson and 26-year-old Alexandra Walker have been jailed for life with minimum terms of 28 years and 22 years respectively for the murder of her 2-year-old daughter Isabel Welsh. The pair were convicted of murder and child cruelty this week following a trial at Teesside Crown Court. Simpson was also convicted of sexually assaulting Isabel while her mother was cleared of that charge. The prosecution said Isabel, who suffered 21 broken bones, had been a happy, healthy child until her mother started dating Simpson last summer. Detective Chief Inspector Steve Chatterton said Isabel suffered catastrophic injuries at the hands of the very people who should have loved her, cared for her and protected her. Andy Burnham is expected to unveil £8.4 billion of investment for Britain's new nuclear submarines. The Dreadnought class will replace the current Vanguard fleet and will be capable of launching Trident ballistic missiles. The Prime Minister says the project is about keeping Britain safe while backing British workers, firms and skills. But he's still facing questions over how he will fund wider defence promises, including commitments on NATO spending. And in sports, Eddie Howe has left his role as Newcastle head coach after almost 5 years in charge. The 48-year-old arrived in November 2021 and went on to lead Newcastle to Carabao Cup glory in 2025. His departure is understood to be amicable. Sticking with the sporting world, Stephen Fleming has been confirmed as England's new Test cricket head coach, and Joe Root will return to the role as Red Bull captain. Those are your latest GBNews headlines. A quick look at the markets.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
The pound will buy you $1.34 and €1.17. The price of gold is £3,043 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 at 10,950 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
All right, good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past 2. Now, there's a major incident in Suffolk. A major wildfire has broken out on Dunwich Heath.
Well, it's been reported that a Sizewell B, that's the nuclear power station nearby, has been put on high alert. It's located just 3 miles south of the fire.
Well, we're now joined by local Suffolk farmer David Bowden. David, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. So how far are you away from the wildfire then?
We farm around about 3-4 miles away from Dunwich Heath at the minute.
Oh, so you're pretty close then. So can you see anything from where you are? I see you're in the farm. Brilliant stuff.
I can't see anything from here, but the fire is can be clearly seen from the farmyard. Yeah, it was right behind the buildings. It's a massive pool of smoke hanging. Yeah, probably seen from... That's a picture we took this morning of the fire.
Wow, I mean, you can just see the scale of that smoke stretching for miles and miles. Have you ever seen anything like this in Suffolk before?
No, not on that scale, no. Not and certainly not so close to the farm, no.
Of course, people will be deeply concerned that this has already been going on for almost a full 24-hour period now. It started yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, we're given to understand. Have you had any indication from authorities about what sort of control has been able to be established over this fire?
We just hear what everybody else hears, but obviously, I think the local sort of rumour mill is obviously going. I mean, what we've heard is that the fire is not under control, but I think the fire brigade themselves have admitted that. And obviously the wind keeps changing direction on them, which I think is causing havoc for them.
Oh.
I mean, it's not that windy, but obviously the slightest change of wind direction and that can cause major problems for them.
David, that is interesting, because we were given to understand that there was a prevailing easterly wind that was pushing this fire out to sea and making things safer. But you're saying actually the wind is changing around a little bit.
The wind was blowing 180 degrees in the opposite direction yesterday. So obviously the wind has now turned round, which has probably helped them out. But obviously, say the slightest change in wind direction obviously can cause problems.
So have you come up with any contingency plans for yourself, David, if things were to get a little bit too close for comfort?
Things would have to get very, very bad before we were in any real danger. Obviously, the biggest problem for us would be if the wind changed and the smoke was then passing over the farm, because we'd be worried about embers, because these crops behind me are so dry. I mean, we've actually stopped harvesting this crop because it is too dry to combine it. The company who's buying it, we're below their minimum moisture levels. And in fact, my moisture reading equipment won't even give me a moisture of how wet it is, because it's so dry. So the countryside around is an absolute tinderbox. So I think there's a lot of very concerned people about, definitely.
No, I can imagine that. And sort of just slightly beside from the issue of the fire, how has the drought affected your job as a farmer, affected the harvest this year? And everything we've combined so far, we're at least 25% down on where we should be.
No.
Yeah, and the spring barleys will be considerably worse than that. I suspect this will be half the crop it should be. And if it's too dry to go for seed to be used in next year's crop, we obviously lose the premium that we're being paid to grow a seed crop, as well as the crop is very light because it's obviously got no moisture to it. So it's a disaster, really.
I mean, David, that must be hugely stressful for you. How are you doing?
Well, the one thing you learn very quickly in farming is that you can't control the weather.
No.
And I didn't. You can do everything right and farming can still be a disaster. And you can do everything wrong and get away with it. The weather runs its job, so you've got to be fatalistic about it, I'm afraid.
Well, that's a good attitude. Stay positive, David. Really appreciate you coming on the show and showing us a bit of your farm behind you as well. Good luck with everything. David Bowden, they're a local Suffolk farmer, not very far at all from the fire itself.
My grandfather was a farmer in Suffolk.
Oh, really? You kept that quiet?
Yeah, no.
What did he farm?
Oh, all sorts of things, loads of different things.
Livestock or crops?
Crops. There were lots of different farmers who did different parts of the land, but yeah, that was.
Oh, there you go.
That was his.
Well, he would have been quite alarmed by these wildfires, I'm sure.
No doubt. I mean, he was a little bit
back in the day.
He was a little bit further south than this, I think. But yeah, it's.
Well, there you go. I'd like to hear more about Grandpa Harwood.
Richard Harwood.
Richard Harwood. There you go. The great Suffolk farmer, Richard Harwood.
Well, moving on now. 5 years ago, 31,000 businesses in Britain were allowed to sponsor migrants to come here under skilled worker visas. That number has since quadrupled, yes, to 123,000.
Wow, GBNews can reveal that one street in northwest London has 27 different businesses preparing to hire foreign workers. But not all of the jobs appear to be highly skilled. Here's Charlie Peters' report.
Welcome to Northolt Road in Harrow. This is Britain's Visa Street. In the last 5 years, 27 businesses on this one road in northwest London have arranged sponsorship certificates to bring in up to 84 migrants on skilled worker visas. One of these businesses, Sam's Chicken, arranged to bring in at least 12 migrants on skilled worker visas over a 4-year period. They're all registered to this address operated by this franchisee at this branch. Let's pay them a visit. The manager, herself a migrant worker, confirmed they had arranged 12 visas. Why aren't you trying to hire local people or British people for these jobs?
We have the local people as well.
As well. But you've also hired foreigners to work at a chicken shop on skilled worker visas. People might be wondering, is it skilled work working at a chicken shop?
I think the local people don't want to work in chicken shops. I think so. That's why.
Do you think that the immigration system is fair for British people here trying to find work? Are you happy that they're giving skilled visas away to chicken shops?
Yeah, so far we are happy with that.
Well, skilled worker visas don't just mean you can bring in a worker, it can also mean you can bring in your whole family as well. On this one stretch of the Northolt Road in Harrow, that could mean up to 350 migrants coming into Britain.
Since June 2024, to get a skilled worker visa, the job you're coming to do needs to pay you at least £41,700 a year, with a few exceptions. But most of the businesses on this road, corner shops, hairdressers, massage parlours, arranged their visas before the changes. Another business on the road, a supermarket, does not hire any Brits, but it has arranged 2 skilled worker visas. The owner told us he hired more Nepalese people because he wanted to bring more of them to Britain.
Why don't you hire British people?
We want to bring the people, you know, the people are, they want to come to UK, England, they want to settle here. It's a dreamland, yeah. That's why. So they are dreaming for the UK, yeah.
Here's the official Home Office list of occupations which qualify for skilled worker visas. Sales and retail assistants, retail cashiers and checkout operators, hairdressers and barbers, beauticians and related occupations, nail technicians, dry cleaners. These jobs are all ineligible. Takeaway managers and proprietors are listed as medium skilled, but they're not eligible for skilled worker visas because there's no shortage of British citizens to do the work. We don't accuse these businesses of breaking the law. They are doing what is permitted under the rules, and many of them brought in workers before the salary threshold was raised. But experts warn that oversight can be relaxed.
When these businesses are awarding certificates of sponsorship, they put a salary on there. That doesn't necessarily mean that is the amount being paid, and in many instances, particularly in certain sectors such as retail and restaurants, what you do see in many cases is that individuals are being paid far lower than what the Home Office was told they would be paid.
The Home Office says it is cracking down on this, revoking 3,299 sponsor licences in 2025, compared with just 347 in 2023, an increase of 950%. The department also says it's tackling the explosion in skilled worker visas. The number of those visas issued is down 1/3 on last year. But last year, the government still gave out 111,000 of these visas. It also renewed a further 700,000 work visas granted under the old, more relaxed rules. Many of them to work in businesses like these, where the jobs don't always seem skilled at all. The number of companies allowed to sponsor skilled worker visas is rising again. Last month, it jumped by more than 500. Whatever the government may hope, Visa Street is still very much open to traffic. Charlie Peters, GB News, Harrow.
Well, a big thanks to Charlie Peters for that report. And by astonishing coincidence, we can now speak to Charlie Peters, who's magically appeared in the studio alongside us.
The real Charlie Peters.
Charlie, clearly a huge wave of migration happened when the income floor was much, much lower than it is now. Now that the income threshold is a significant amount higher, is this still a problem?
It is still a problem because those old visas can be renewed. In fact, a significant portion of those 700,000, we suspect around 200,000 worth of work in businesses like the ones that we've just been showing you in that report. And the major question is salary, isn't it, Tom? Because those businesses that I went to and others that we haven't put in that report as well, that we've visited on the Northolt Road, some of those workers were being paid the national living or minimum wage. So if you worked a full week, a full year as well, you're looking at around £24,000–25,000, which would have met the legal minimum before the salary threshold was raised to £41,700. But most people don't think that that is good enough pay for foreign workers coming to the United Kingdom. And I think what this report is designed to show is actually that the economic case for mass migration has started to erode. People are seeing that actually a lot of this work that is being described as highly skilled isn't actually the case. And when you add in the cost of dependence on that one stretch, up to 350 people could be coming with relatives, family members, children as well. when you then add in the universal credit cost, PIP, housing, healthcare, the net drain on resources is what most taxpayers will see on a road like the Norfolk Road in Harrow. I should say that Sam's Chicken, we did approach them for further details and for more of a clarification, just to ask a few more questions. They did not get back to us with regards to that one franchisee operated by that manager or that one address. But the other businesses that we spoke to, very open as well about the situation, how they hired foreign nationals. And that man who ran a Nepalese supermarket, he said very clearly, yes, we want people from Nepal because they have the specialist culinary skills that appeal to our customers here. But also, he also told us, on camera, that this is a dreamland. They want to come to Britain because their quality of life will improve. People watching at home might be thinking, how does our quality of life improve by having more Nepalese supermarket workers?
Well, these are the sort of jobs that should go to, students or, the Saturday type of job, the sort of young people's first, chance at having a bit of responsibility, getting a bit of cash, and then you've got sort of 40-year-old people from Nepal doing these kind of jobs. I mean, do you think it's fair to say, local people don't want to do these jobs?
Well, Emily, that is exactly what that manager said at the chicken shop. Local people, not even young people, she said, all people would not want to do this sort of work. And when you look at the number of unemployed people we have, when we hear testimony, as we have done countless times from our own audience here at GBNews, getting in touch, talking about their relatives or themselves, saying, I'm desperate for work, but there's just no opportunities around me. People are also particularly gasping for high street work because that has that sense of community. You can leave on your lunch break and pop round and see your friends and visit another business as well, perhaps get your lunch at a place like Sam's Chicken. But when you do have up to 12 people, and that's how many visas were being arranged by that one branch of that chicken shop.
That's crazy.
The opportunities will be diminished for local Brits who want to work those sorts of jobs, or indeed any sort of job that's available.
I mean, ultimately, you'd think if there is such a need for a Nepalese food shop selling Nepalese food, there are quite a lot of Nepalese people in the area anyway, as they're the patrons of the shop.
Selling it to each other.
You'd expect that they could perhaps work in the shop because there's already that significant community. For now, Charlie, thank you very much indeed. Let's speak now to the human rights lawyer, David Hay. Because, David, it does seem a lot of people will be hugely surprised that there is this right of businesses to bring people into the country.
Good afternoon to you both. I mean, they may well be. As a human rights lawyer, I'm not surprised. We see it day in, day out. The system has been open to abuse for decades, and there's nothing new in what we're seeing from my perspective. It is open to abuse, and I can run through the things, things that are open to abuse before and are still open to abuse. And I think, someone using a highly skilled worker visa to employ someone in a takeaway or a retail shop at a kind of a lower level, not even at the management, that is not what this system was put in place for. That should be the exception, not the rule. It now appears it's the rule in Harrow, not the exception.
Also, is there a bit of in-group bias going on here in terms of, why are these people looking to sponsor people from their own home country rather than, looking at the local community where their business is? Try and recruit from your own community rather than getting your mates or your cousins or your friend from Nepal or Pakistan or Bangladesh or wherever.
I think absolutely, Emily. Look, I mean, I think the people you interviewed in the clip earlier, that made it very, very clear why they're bringing people in. They're bringing people in because they're from their country, because it's a dreamland. That they spoke for themselves. That's the reality. That's something that I see, on a daily basis when people are kind of honest and they actually say why they want to come here. And that's the issue. And I think, the problem that you've got here is that one of the problems is that this highly skilled worker program and the licensing of effectively the businesses to hand out these visas was never really, I don't think, intended for such small businesses. You kind of have an idea of like large corporations that are effectively a bit more compliant with the law doing this type of thing, not a corner shop. And when you get a corner shop handing out visas, you can understand where one of the problems that goes wrong. And it's not just the handing out of the visas, it's the monitoring of them. Once the visas have been handed out, how do we know that the minimum salary thresholds have been met? How do we know that's what's actually being paid? And that's actually the role. These are some of the many, many problems that still haven't been fixed.
A really important point. Well, at this point, let's bring back in our correspondent, Charlie Peters, who I think has a question for you, David.
David, we've been speaking about these 700,000 visas being renewed, of which a significant portion are those on the previous skilled migrant worker routes. People have been speaking today, including Neil O'Brien, the Shadow Justice Minister, about shutting it all down, about cancelling those previous visas. As a human rights lawyer, how difficult would that be for the government to do? Say someone's been here for many years on one of the old visas. How could that be achieved?
I think as the law as it stands, Charlie, to do that, suddenly to cancel every existing visa and deny renewals on previous terms and say, right, from today, we have to do everything with these new rules. In the current laws, I don't think that's possible yet without changing laws. And we know how long laws change. So you'll have politicians saying that this is what they're going to do. But the reality is, if anyone does try and do that, it's going to get stuck through the courts all the way up to the European Court of Human Rights at the moment. And we know how long that takes. So they may promise it, but the reality of that actually happening and happening quickly is very different.
All right, David Haig, thank you very much indeed, human rights lawyer. And thank you very much to Charlie Peters as well with that GB News exclusive Visa Street in Harrow. There you go. Ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
Yes, the body of a 38-year-old Scottish woman has been found inside a suitcase in an abandoned building in Athens, Greece. What on earth is going on there? Quite the mystery.
But after the break, we'll hear from Prime Minister Andy Burnham, who's spoken to media regarding President Trump's comments on Britain's migration system.
I wonder what he's got to say about that.
All of that to come and more. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late-night TV shows. We're giving you a front-row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 2:30, and as wildfires continue to blaze across Suffolk, the Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has now commented. He was also asked about immigration. Here's what he had to say.
We got the situation under close monitoring. I'm receiving regular updates. It is a very serious incident. I will make sure that Suffolk Fire and Rescue Service have all of the support, the mutual aid from other services that they need, and any other resources that need to be brought to bear. It is a serious incident, but we are watching it very closely indeed, and all of the support needed will be there.
President Trump told the White House briefing yesterday that you wanted to open up the North Sea for oil drilling. He also said that immigration is killing Britain, with people coming from all over the world and just camping out. Is the president right? And is that correct, what you told him about North Sea oil?
I indicated in the phone call that we had a week last Monday that I would take a pragmatic approach when it comes to the North Sea, and that is my intention as we go forward from here. There is a resource there. When people are struggling, you can't ignore that, and hence me indicating that to the President. When it comes to the wider issues around the Channel and immigration, obviously there are crossings this week, but overall, if you look at the picture in 2026 compared to last year, 2025, there is significant progress in terms of reducing the number of crossings, the number of people coming over. But there is much further to be done to get the grip on the issue that we require. The Home Secretary is applying that grip, and I'm grateful to her, but more is needed to get those numbers right down. The removals are up too, though, and this is another part of the story that people need to understand. You know, there is progress being made on all fronts, but more is needed.
Okay, one more maybe?
OK, well, there was Andy Burnham, the Prime Minister, being asked on a number of things. Firstly, the wildfire, saying all the resources should be with the fire and rescue team in Suffolk. But on immigration, again, similar, saying, oh, progress has been made. Progress has been made. Home Secretary is doing her job.
Yeah. And also, of course, on North Sea, that he's going to take a pragmatic approach to the resources that we have there. Well, let's dissect it all now.
What does that mean? Is he going to allow drilling or not? That's what we want to know.
Well, let's find out with our political correspondent, Olivia Utley. Olivia, what do you make of what the Prime Minister had to say?
Well, let's start with the North Sea, because in some ways I think that's the most interesting aspect of that interview. It has been clear for a while now that Andy Burnham is far more willing to accept the possibility of new licences for drilling in the North Sea than his predecessor, and actually than some of his Conservative predecessors. He's removed Ed Miliband from the Department of Energy and Net Zero, although his replacement, Miata Fambula, is considered to be of the Ed Miliband mindset. She's spoken out about the climate crisis in the past, so I wonder if he's setting himself up already for an argument with his energy secretary. But it does sound as though this is something that Andy Burnham will be willing to move on. We already know that Burnham is a more sort of savvy communicator, savvy politician than his predecessor, Keir Starmer, and it sounds as though in a phone call with Donald Trump, Andy Burnham mentioned the North Sea because he knew that that is a quick and easy way to get the president on side. The president firmly believes that all Western countries should be getting as much cheap, abundant energy as possible, partly in order to meet the NATO defence spending needs. So it might be a bit of a fight with his backbenchers, but Andy Burnham, it seems to be softening the ground for some more drilling in the North Sea. I mean, on the issue of the wildfires, a very, very tricky issue for a Prime Minister in his first couple of weeks in office. He said what he had to say, which is that the police have the support of the government and he will make sure that everything is in place. On immigration, a very tricky issue again for this Prime Minister. Those comments from Donald Trump will be considered by the Burnham team as extremely unhelpful. Andy Burnham, of course, would much rather not talk about this issue, in part because it is such an intractable problem, as we have seen from government after government failing to get a grip on the small boats crisis, but also because particularly for him, Andy Burnham, this is very hard indeed. He comes from the soft left of the Labour Party, and lots in that faction of the Labour Party, people who have been his friends for a very, very long time now, don't believe that the small boats issue is a problem, or if they accept that it's a problem, they don't think it's very far up the list. He is setting himself for a fight with them if he continues with Shabana Mahmood's policies, but it sounds as though that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yes, indeed. He says the Home Secretary is dealing with that one, it seems. Olivia Rutley, thank you very much indeed for your time, our political correspondent there. Let us know your thoughts.
Absolutely, gbnews.com/.
I think we need to know whether he's going to allow, the North Sea to get drilling.
I think he probably...
he needs to just tell us, about time, really.
There's a gradient there, though, right? I think it's likely that Rosebank, after 22 years, will finally be approved. I think it's likely Jackdaw will be approved, but they were already in the planning process. I don't think that Labour is going to do any new licences, genuinely new licences that weren't already in process, because their manifesto bans it. And Andy Burnham has said, time and time again, he's going to stick to the manifesto, which said no new licences.
I just think it's about time to tell us exactly what the plan is, don't you? Anyway, lots more coming up on today's show. Yes, this is a curious one, a mystery, really. The body of a 38-year-old Scottish woman has been found inside a suitcase in an abandoned building in Athens, in Greece. Investigators are examining claims that someone may have used her phone after her death. We'll bring you the story.
Well, all of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. Now, there is actually a bit of rain around for some of us, even in the south today, but also some sunshine. And worth bearing in mind, with a cold front pushing its way through, we are seeing things turning a bit fresher than it was yesterday, but nonetheless in the southeast it is still quite hot. As I mentioned, there's some rain, outbreaks of rain across particularly the northern half of Scotland, and then a few spots of rain elsewhere. Quite a bit of cloud across central, southern, southwestern parts of England into Wales, and a few outbreaks of rain pushing their way eastwards. But there will also be some sunshine. Like I mentioned, though, it is a bit fresher for many of us. Temperatures in the southeast down around 5 degrees compared to yesterday, but nonetheless could still get to high 20s, perhaps even low 30s in some places. Also need to watch out for the potential for some further showers into this evening. Could turn thundery across parts of East Anglia in particular, but they're going to be very isolated, not a huge amount of them. A few more showers across parts of Northern Ireland, central and northern parts of Scotland. Some of them could be a bit heavy, but the rain's not going to be as persistent as it has been earlier on this week here. As we go overnight, we're sticking with a few showery bursts of rain here and there, mainly across parts of Scotland, but a few further south can't be ruled out. There's the potential that some rain around the North Sea could push into parts of East Anglia through the night, but I'm not particularly confident about that. Likely it will stay just to the east, with much of England and Wales staying dry overnight. It is going to be a little bit fresher, a bit chillier perhaps than some recent nights, more widely seeing temperatures into single figures perhaps, so not as warm as it has been recently. More showery rain across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England and perhaps Wales through tomorrow. There will be some drier, perhaps sunnier weather here, but it's across central southern parts of the UK where it's going to be largely dry and sunny. Here temperatures will be down compared to today, but only by a couple of degrees.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A361 is closed after the A396. The A417 is closed after the A429. The A1 between junctions 3 and 4 is closed. The M25 anti-clockwise is affected by an incident between junctions 9 and 8 near Reigate. And the M25 between junctions 16 and 15 near Poyle is closed. And on the trains, ScotRail is experiencing major disruption between Glasgow Queen Street and Edinburgh via Airdrie, with East Midlands Railway also facing reduced services and disruption between Luton and London St Pancras International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. Coming up to 20 to 3. Now some breaking news and pictures to bring you from Faro TV.
Yes, thousands of migrants here are storming Spanish territory. These are dramatic videos showing large crowds of mostly men, by the looks of things, overwhelming border guards in the enclave of Ceuta in northern Africa.
Well, that's one of two Spanish enclaves in northern Africa that, of course, are part of Spanish sovereign territory. And the idea of these migrants breaking into this part of Spanish sovereign territory, of course, is that then they will be able to make it to the mainland, where, of course, a significant amnesty programme is underway.
Yeah, this is the only land border between the European Union and Africa. So as you can see, huge numbers of people just sort of breaking through. But Spain has had an interesting policy towards illegal migration. They've sort of decided that they're just going to approve people, haven't they?
Hundreds of thousands.
So it's hardly surprising that so many people are storming through the border there.
Right, in other news now, the body of a Scottish woman has been found inside a suitcase in Athens.
Yes, 38-year-old Elizabeth Jane Ross from Scotland. She was discovered in a derelict building in the Kypseli district after a homeless man alerted the authorities.
Well, joining us now is the senior global reporter at the Daily Mail, Nick Pisa. Because, Nick, this seems like a bizarre story. What do we know?
Yes, indeed. It's very intriguing. It seems to have mystified the authorities in Greece for some time as well before, as you say, Elizabeth Jane Ross was identified by fingerprints. It appears that she was working in the United States for a period of time. And obviously, when you go to the United States, you have to give your fingerprints. And that's how she was tracked down. Originally, she was from Scotland. We understand she's from the Edinburgh area, where the police have obviously had to break the sad news to her parents that, yes, her body was found in a suitcase a few days ago now, as you say, in the Kypseli area of Athens. And now they're just trying to trace her movements. We know that she flew into Athens from Edinburgh earlier this month, was staying with friends, and then disappeared. Intriguingly as well, police have revealed this morning in Athens that for several days after they believe that she died, messages were being sent to her parents from her mobile phone, purporting that she was alive and well and that she was travelling to an island to be alone, apparently, and that she needed some time on her own. Now, intriguingly, as news of the discovery of her body yesterday, about 24 hours ago, broke, that mobile phone signal disappeared. And we know that the authorities in Greece are trying to triangulate it and find where that mobile phone is and was being used.
Very interesting. Do we know if there were flesh wounds on the body, or if there was any indication of what might on earth have happened to her?
Well, they say that the body was in the suitcase for several days before it was found by that homeless person in that derelict building. They say that for the time being, the coroner cannot find any definitive cause of death. They say there's no signs of any injury or anything like that at all on the body, and they're saying that hopefully that maybe with the suitcase they can maybe trace some DNA, because they're saying the suitcase wasn't hers, that she was found inside. So they're obviously carrying out tests on that. They're also speaking to her the friends that she was staying with in Athens as well, to try and piece together her movements, basically. I know that also they're looking at CCTV camera from buildings around that area, also checking with hotels and B&B establishments to see if there's any notice of her checking in, because we do know that she left her friends for 3 days or so before she was eventually found in the suitcase.
It's just the most tragic story, but also one that sticks out as particularly newsworthy because of the very unusual circumstances of it. I mean, I can't imagine it's a particular run-of-the-mill story in Greece to find people inside suitcases.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the Greek authorities are saying that they've never had anything like this before, and also they're intrigued as to why Elizabeth was put in this suitcase. Was it that obviously someone was trying to hide her? But what were the circumstances that led her to that building, or that led to her being put in the suitcase in that building? It is a rundown area of Athens. It is popular with drug addicts, I'm led to believe as well. So maybe there was some suggestion that she wandered into the wrong area and something quite horrendous happened to her as well. But we know that the police are taking this very, very seriously. They are speaking to her friends and to her family as well. So trying to piece together her movements. But there was some suggestion that she'd actually travelled from Cyprus originally before coming to Athens, but police have now discounted that theory and said that no, she travelled from Edinburgh to Greece to visit these friends of hers in Athens earlier this month.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe she was kidnapped. Maybe it was a night out gone wrong, venturing into a dodgy area. I mean, who knows? Hopefully we'll find out a little more. Nick Pisa, really appreciate your time. A senior global reporter at the Daily Mail. Well, it's a mystery so far.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
Oh, yes, a new poll. It reveals Britain's favourite royals. And there's a surprising rebellion against the king from one group of voters.
Is it the Sussexes?
But can you guess who will reveal the results?
Well, before all that, if you're in search of some holiday sunshine, here's the weather in Europe.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Things remain very hot across Italy and parts of southern Spain. 1 or 2 showers in northern Spain and across the south of France. Plenty of sunshine for Greece and Turkey. Hot in Croatia as well as Italy. 40 degrees in Rome. 1 or 2 showers possible in southern France. More likely to see thunderstorms over more central parts of France. The odd shower over northern Spain too, but most of Spain and Portugal dry and sunny. Pretty hot in the Canaries as well. Plenty more sunshine throughout the weekend also.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Nana Akua, weekends from 3 p.m.
This is really exciting. We've got 1 million people living with dementia in this country, and about 65%, 70% of them have Alzheimer's disease. This is a condition where a protein called amyloid beta builds up in plaques within the brain and interferes with the connection of nerve cells. It's a cruel disease, as I know you're aware. It robs families of the relative that they once loved, the personality that they knew, and it's the leading cause of death in this country. So numbers are only increasing as the aging population grows. But here we have in phase 3 clinical trials, which is the last stage of trials before a regulatory body approves it for use, which appears to clear some of these plaques within a few weeks. Now that's really exciting.
GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
What does this kind of day mean to you, kind of coming and doing this every year?
Well, I feel that I'm doing this for my wife because she used to sell poppies properly, really, and I used to help her for 20 odd years. And I feel like I'm doing it for her, really. But it is nice to think that everybody appreciate what we did for being in the forces.
But tell me about your service, because you got sent out to the Far East, didn't you?
Yes. I just got engaged because I didn't think I was going to get called up, but then I did.
In your jacket here, you've got 1 medal for national service and 1 for that Hong Kong medal for that.
To be honest, I was 18 years old. And I was very excited about going. It was an adventure to me.
The People's Channel. Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Weight loss jabs could help children as young as 6 who are living with obesity. When did we start saying living with obesity? Can we not say obese children? Is that not politically correct? Well, delighted to be joined now by Sarah LeBrock, Director of All About Obesity. Sarah, I think a lot of people will feel slightly uneasy about children getting on these jabs, simply because we sort of expect, I don't know, diets to be managed by parents.
Yeah, I can totally understand why people would think that. But the point we're not talking about just overweight children here. We're talking about children living with obesity. And interestingly, you say, why do we say living with obesity? It's because they're living with a chronic condition.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 10 to 3, and Reform Party voters are the least happy with the new king. Or no, rather, with the King. He's been king for a while now, hasn't he?
Yeah, we told you which group of voters are not too keen on him, and it's Reform voters. Interesting, eh?
That's all according to new polling. Here to tell us all about it is our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. Cameron, is this a surprising finding?
Well, this is a little bit of a surprising finding, yes, considering the support for the King amongst Conservative voters is at 90%. So this is all new YouGov polling that's come out today. Yeah, 90% for Conservatives. When it comes to Reform UK, 35% of people who voted for Reform in 2024 disapprove of how King Charles is performing, which is the highest of any political party.
Higher than the Greens?
Well, the Greens are at 57 to 58 disapproval, joint with the Reform UK. But you have
he's a bit woke, isn't he, Cameron?
We have some reasons why. I think there's two issues here. First of which, as you say, Emily, well, I'm not going to say woke, but
perceived
as climate change. Perceived as well. He, for a number of decades now, has clearly championed the climate cause, which has annoyed quite a lot of Reform voters
other religions.
Who struggle with cost of living. Yes, so this religious thing is the other thing. There is a big conspiracy going around online about King Charles's religious connotations.
They think he's secretly a Muslim?
Yeah,
yes,
basically.
Completely false. No evidence for that. He is Supreme Governor of the Church of England. He goes to church every single Sunday. Yes, he visits mosques, but, you know, he visits Gurdwaras and other religious temples as well.
He was at the Cambridge Eco Mosque, wasn't he, the other day?
That was the last time he visited a mosque, which was a couple of weeks ago. But it has created this kind of algorithm and amplification online that he is not a Christian, which is totally false. But I think that might be perhaps what has turned some voters, not all, but some voters away from him completely, not rightly.
Didn't he have the breaking of the fast at Windsor Castle? He had the breaking of the Ramadan... Was it the Ramadan celebration at Windsor Castle?
I can't remember which head of state it was, but it was a visiting head of state who was from an Islamic country, and I think they delayed the state banquet because of the Ramadan feast and festival going on by a couple of hours, so it could be after nightfall. Some other quick points to mention. Prince and Princess of Wales, as hardly surprising, are top of the leaderboard when it comes to popularity with the British public. Now, Prince Harry, although most people still have a negative view of Prince Harry, his numbers have been kind of trending upwards, actually, since May 2025, so last year. So he's up 6 points. So he's actually jumped a couple of places. He's gone above his cousins, Princess Beatrice and Eugenie.
Perhaps because he visited Britain, the Invictus Games stuff. I mean, people are seeing him perhaps in a slightly less distant light.
Well, I think September last year, where he did a week of just purely royal engagements when there wasn't any scandals of him complaining about security or his media case against the Daily Mail group, I think people started to respect him a bit more because it was a bit like having the old Prince Harry back. Of course, since then, he's been back again and has gone back to his old ways of complaining, so that might affect the polling. Meghan pretty low down, and Andrew at rock bottom at just 2% popularity of the British public.
The lizard man constant.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think he's ever going to go back up the charts.
No.
Probably not.
It's the proportion of people who... it's the proportion of UKIP voters who wanted to remain in the European Union. It's the proportion of Obama voters who thought he was the Antichrist. It's the people who pressed the joke option on the opinion polls or are just a bit
Brexiteer Liberal Democrats. Well, thank you very much indeed, Cameron, and thank you at home for watching Good Afternoon Britain. Do not go anywhere because Christopher Hope is in for Martin Daubney this afternoon, bringing you through to 6 o'clock.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good afternoon to you. This is your latest Met Office weather update for GB News. Now, there are going to be some showers around, even a few thundery ones, but many places, particularly towards the south, will be largely dry through the next few days with some sunshine. A big talking point, though, is the fact that it's turning fresher. There is a cold front making its way southeastwards, and that's leading to a drop in temperatures. In the southeast, it's still been hot today, but not as hot as it was yesterday, and things are turning fresher. There are some showery bursts of rain to watch out for through this evening and overnight, perhaps some thundery ones over parts of East Anglia, but elsewhere the showers look more intermittent and less likely to be intense. It's going to be a fresher night than it has been recently. Temperatures, particularly towards the north and west, dropping into single figures, especially away from the towns and cities. First thing tomorrow morning, a few showery outbreaks of rain across northern and western parts of Scotland in particular, more central eastern areas and southern parts starting the day largely dry, even some sunshine here. A few showers, 1 or 2 showers across Northern Ireland through the morning, but also some sunny spells. A few showery outbreaks across some northern parts of England and Wales, but more central southern areas where it's a dry start here. Just a bit more cloud towards the southeast, and there could be some showers around coastal parts of East Anglia. The north-south split sort of continues as we go through tomorrow, so showery bursts of rain, a bit more cloud across northern parts. Further south it's looking dry and plenty of sunshine here. Despite the sunshine though, temperatures, if anything, will be down a few degrees compared to today. We're looking at them peaking in the mid-20s as opposed to the high 20s or low 30s that we've had today. Later on tomorrow, more showery bursts of rain across northern parts. Further south, there may be some showers coming into parts of Wales, but generally it's looking dry for a little while longer. More fine weather to come across southern areas through the weekend and into next week, but further north always a greater chance of some rain. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds ahead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific 2-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash. And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News.
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew hid me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again. You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good afternoon, it's 3 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show with me, Christopher Hope, on GB News, broadcasting here until 6 p.m. Here's what's coming up on today's show. A major incident has been declared due to the size and complexity of a large wildfire in the village of Dunwich Heath in Suffolk, with the local fire service saying it's not yet under control. We'll be live on the scene.
They're invading Europe. I mean, they're invading Europe. It's an invasion, and the UK is a prime suspect.
President Donald J. Trump issues a stark warning to Britain, warning Prime Minister Andy Burnham that immigration was killing the UK on the day that more than 700 illegal migrants arrived on our southern shores. We'll bring you the latest on this next. Meanwhile, extraordinary footage has emerged showing huge numbers of migrants sprinting up beaches, swimming ashore and dispersing in the small streets of a small Spanish territory. Could they be coming to the UK next? Could there be a World Cup football boycott? The FA is under huge pressure to pull England out of future tournaments due to the controversial £15 billion proposed sell-off plans from FIFA. Meanwhile, 60 years ago today, Jeff Hurst, who I met very recently, became the first player to score a hat-trick in a final. But will the 60 years of hurt ever end? Maybe not. That's all coming up in your next hour. Send us your views and post your comments by going to gbnews.com/your say, or you can scan the QR code on your screen.